Welcome to the 47th episode of the Nerdom and Other Nonsense Anime Podcast. Today, we are giving you our Spring 2018 season's first impressions based on the first and second week of shows. As always, we include timestamps in the description of the YouTube video and the podcast feed if you only want to hear about one or two specific shows, since we spoil literally everything. My name is Bcom, and I'm a pretty horse girl who likes to gallop through fields of flowers. Also with me are Kat and Leo.
What's
up?
Did you read that beforehand?
I did read it beforehand, and I enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah, that was actually really cute, though.
So we're all still alive somehow.
Yes, barely. This season is so ridiculous.
Yeah. It's going to be tough keeping this episode
being
in
prepared
that decent time frame.
For this episode. Okay, listeners, you don't know the pain that we suffered for y'all. All right. We watched 2 episodes of so many shitty shows for you. You should be damn grateful. Like, we did so much work. So yeah, you just lay back. If you're not sure about an anime, we'll tell you all about it. Then you can make an informed decision.
We really have died for your sins.
Pretty much.
Multiple times. By the way, we are trying to continue to get Senpai to notice us on iTunes, but Senpai didn't notice us this week. Aww. So we're very sad. But if you want to notice us in the future and make us happy, please head over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review, letting us know what you think of the podcast. And Kat will read it in her sexy voice like she did the other week. So you can look forward to that.
Seriously, bitches, give me something to read. Like, I want more reviews on this podcast. Come on, we can do it.
Even if it be a bad review, we're still going to read it.
This is true. We will. I will gloriously. I would love to read the bad reviews too, especially. Like, if we get a good review, it'll be in Kat's sexy voice. A bad review will be in like my goofy voice or something. I don't know. It'd be fantastic.
Secret M again.
Yes.
He's like, please give us a bad review. I really want it. I'm like, okay, Bcom, if you really want it, you can take that one.
Oh God, give us a joke.
Kat, you know what I really want is Horse Girls.
Okay.
Horse Girls Pretty Derby is what I really want.
So what I'm hearing from you is that when your next girlfriend, you're just gonna like come in the bedroom and you're gonna have like horse ears and like a tail and be like, you know what I really want? I really want you to wear these.
See, it's really
give
bad.
Give him the goofy horse mask. She can just put that on if you know what I'm talking about.
It's really bad because people like around Discord are starting to think that I'm actually like a horse furry because I've had like the horse girl like eating a carrot avatar as my avatar for a little while and like renamed myself to Horse Girl Pretty Bcom and everybody's like, oh, this fucking furry. I'm just like, no, it's for memes, please. Oh, okay. But whatever.
But we can talk about this show. Starts on Sundays. Uma Musume Pretty Derby. It's on Amazon. Source is a game. Studio PA Works. Also behind this is Cygames. And they're known for Rage of Bahamut fame. Who they did that with Mappa, though. Mm-hmm. The director is Oikawa Kei. He's doing this season's Hitamatsuri at the same time. Outbreak Company and this art club has a problem that I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know, Leo. As we go through these shows, I think we covered most of like who's directing them and everything in our spring previews. So like, unless it's really important, let's just like leave that out, or else we're gonna be here forever.
Yes,
let's make changes now and just make me look like the bad guy.
Yeah, no, it's that's my bad. I should have told you.
All right, we'll skip that crap. Anyways, episode
who cares
1.
Who made this?
Yeah, Gate of Dreams. Our main character is named Special Week. Yes, all the girls get legit horse names, which is kind of cool.
Hell yeah.
But they only have the characteristics of horse ears and a tail. But I guess they're just amazing runners anyways.
Well,
she ends up going to the big city.
Like horses, apparently.
Yeah, they can kick real good.
She goes to the big city to attend the horse academy. She ends up checking out the track and watching a race. She's enamored with a horse girl named Silent Suzuku.
So am I.
Suzuka. She your favorite?
I'm also enamored with her.
Who was also voted as the most popular. She wins, and afterwards, the top 3 spots put on a winner's concert. So you want to talk about having it tough. You're already doing some really crazy physical exertion, and then you have to put in a pop performance afterwards in Japan. Jesus Christ, you're asking a lot from these girls.
Seriously.
Yeah, but she eventually makes it to the school, meets a bunch of other horse girls. She tries out to be on the team that Silent Suzuka is on. She's nervous and late out of the gate, but she uses this technique she saw Suzuka use and stuns the character literally named Trainer. He's like, what?
God, fuck this guy.
This is after he previously snuck up behind her and just started feeling up her thighs.
This was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Like the anime did not need to go to this. Like they didn't need to make this joke. And it really turned a ton of people off of the show. Even me to some extent. Because I'm like, this is not what I want out of this.
And you were all hyped for this going into it too.
Yeah, I was like, PA Works, what are you doing having this guy feel up this girl's legs? Like, what the fuck are you doing? And it's funny because she kicks him like a horse would kick you. But at the same time, it's like, ick. Like, why? Anyway.
Yeah, so anyways, it looks like she got first, but she actually got second. And freaking Kat's favorite character got it. What was her name?
Condor
Pasa.
Yes, that is my favorite horse girl.
Yeah, she's kind of crazy. But she got second. But then after school, she gets basically abducted by 3 other horse girls who take her to their club room where Trainer is waiting. He's going to have her join his team named Spica. And Suzuka has also joined this team now because Trainer gave her some advice on her running and it helped her win last time. Basically, Trainer understands her running style better than the other female trainer, Hana. They end on Trainer saying Special Week will have her debut next week, much to her surprise and everything else. And other than Trainer, obviously, there's like these just like super short, like a 1.5 seconds scene, just like CGI is just like,
I don't remember right out of it. Like, do you remember an example of like when this happened?
Yeah, it just did a quick shot of like either the girls, I think, racing on the track is in the earlier half of the episode. Okay. Or they were either training, but it was literally just a 1.5 seconds out of nowhere. And I'm like, well, why did you even do that? There's no reason you couldn't animate that like the rest of the show.
Yeah, it's always like a trade-off when they want to show a lot of characters on screen at once and they're like, well, we can't really draw this. I guess we could do CGI and it will look bad, but we could do it. And it's like, why? Maybe don't do that. You know?
True.
So this show is kind of like they did plastic surgery on a sports show and an idol show, and they like combine them like Frankenstein style into what they wanted. And it's not like the worst show I've ever seen. Like, no, it's you can watch it. It's enjoyable to watch. Like, it is like good popcorn fare. Like, I will sit down and just like turn my brain off, like Leo used to do with Busho Shoujo Machiavellianism, and I will just like be like, I'll root for my favorite horse girl from week to week. Yeah. But like beyond that, there's not much to it. And it's a little disappointing to me. Like, and yeah, like Kat is saying, it kind of feels like some Japanese guy in a suit sat down and he was like, oh, so does Neue. All of the people really like gacha games and horse racing games. Also, they really like idols. What if we made an anime with all 3 of those things? Think of all the money. And so that's kind of what this has turned into.
Yeah.
It's also a little bit fetishy because like the them being horse girls, like sometimes it gets a little too much where it's just like, all right.
Yeah. So you want to tell us a little bit about episode 2, Kat? I mean, Bcom. Bleh.
Oh yeah, so episode 2, just a short synopsis. It was basically focused on like Special Week's first big race, and we find out that she has like really good racing instincts. She also has like 2 moms, which is a kind of interesting thing. One is like sort of, I don't know, like, so she has basically her biological mother, she died, unfortunately, a horse mom, and then like a human mom who raises her for the rest of her life and like helps her train to become like the best horse girl she can be.
Promised Special Week's actual mom that she would help her and train her and be like this. So
yeah,
like she knew she wasn't going to make it through like giving birth to her or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a little disappointing. I wish we could have had like 2 moms. That would have been fun. That would have been a weird aspect of the show that would have been interesting and like doesn't happen in other anime very often.
Yeah.
So she is able to win her first race basically on instinct and on like just like knowing when, like gut instinct to like put on a burst of speed. And then she performs like terribly in like the winner's idol segment because she forgot to prepare. Like she just totally forgot. And yeah, like there's not really much more to that show, like the second episode.
Yeah. They did do one thing. At first, I didn't know what to think about it, but they did the iconic, running with bread in their mouth, but she has a carrot instead. And I had to pause the show and kind of look at the wall, and I couldn't decide if this was pretty genius or just fucking cheesy as hell.
It is genius. It is.
I decided to go with
genius.
That's both pretty... at the same time. That is the answer.
Yeah. I loved there's all sorts of like carrot things. There's like in the high school president's office, because they're at a school, of course too, and she has like this fine carrot juice that she has, like it's like her like liquor. Her special liquor is this fine carrot juice.
If you really hilarious. Like just looking at like legs, like if you're a leg guy, you'll enjoy this anime because there's lots of pretty pictures of legs, and like I think Leo said like high knees, like lots of that.
Oh yeah.
So like if you enjoy that, you enjoy this.
And you can really dig into like the Wikipedia pages for the real life horses that they're named after, that are all like Japanese horses that used to race in like the 90s and the 80s. Yeah. And you can kind of spoil yourself for certain aspects of the show, because it's clear that like these girls are really very much based on these real life horses and what happened in their careers and how they like interacted with each other in different races. And even more so, like the attention to detail with like, if you look at pictures of those horses and like what they used to wear as their like horse racing attire, it's totally influencing the character design of each of the girls, and it's hilarious.
See,
like there's lots of good side by sides.
So good catch, Bcom. I'll check that out.
That fun is really fun. It's fun to dig into, but
yeah.
Beyond that, it's pretty much like an average show done by an above average studio. So it's good, but I don't know if it's like worth reviewing from week to week. We'll have to find out later on. Mm-hmm. So how about the next thing, Leo?
So we got Caligula. I will skip all the information.
Caligula, bitch.
Caligula.
Holy fuck, Leo.
What language is that even?
Caligula?
Well, it's a Roman emperor's name, so I guess Latin.
So that's why I fucked it up. Apparently this is a pick on Leo.
No, it's just don't mispronounce very famous names.
This brand new name to me. So
it's all right.
Episode 1. Ritsu is a big psychology nerd, and I would love to talk about this stuff, but I'm going to sideline it because it's due to time constraints. Yeah. If it gets picked up, we'll definitely talk about it more, but it kind of drops the ball on that shit in the second episode.
Oh, does it? Yeah, I didn't watch episode 2, but like he like basically babbles on forever about psychology stuff in the first episode.
Yeah.
Some of it's pretty interesting. The rest of it's like, oh god, dude, like calm the fuck down.
Yeah, like the window, or like the different portions of the window, and like what people know about themselves and what other people. It's interesting. Like I did find it interesting, and it's a good part of the show, but
and then after that they don't. The only time they even talk about psychology anymore is when he's just trying to figure out if he's gone crazy or not. So, so at one point, Ritsu starts noticing that certain things start repeating themselves or following a specific pattern. He notices on a strange thing when a man named Satake shows up and starts beating the crap out of a bunch of people, but also the people he is fighting are acting very strange themselves. He finally makes it to graduation and starts freaking out when he knows his experienced this graduation before. I felt like I was gathering.
Yeah.
Then Mew, the very famous idol in this world, shows up and like starts singing. Then a bunch of people transform, starts attacking some of the students. Ritsu makes it out and runs into Satake again, who is half transformed and fires like a large revolver at the creature chasing him. Where the hell this show is going, I have no idea.
So one thing I didn't like about Ritsu, like he at one point goes out to like a cafe or something with his friends, and he's like, that has a lot of calories in it or something. He's like, he's just like lecturing them about like nutrition while they're out eating, and I'm just like, this guy's a fucking asshole. Like I wouldn't want to spend like 5 minutes with this guy. He's such a douchebag. I don't know.
There's just another takeaway scene where a girl named Mifue has a mother who is anorexic, and after she's visited one night by Mew, she comes back home the next day, and her mother is well and happily talking about having dinner with her.
Her mom's also like fucking hot now. Like,
yeah, mom
looks
went
like
from
a different
like
person.
Yeah, disgusting anorexic to like MILF.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Pretty much. You guys got anything you want to add to that? I can glaze over episode 2, which is just
it's basically
kind of
like
crazy.
The Matrix, like anime style. Kind of. It's got like an idol in it. That's the part of the show that I'm like, what the fuck is this idol girl? Like, why is she even in this? Like, I like this show in general, and I probably will continue to watch it at least for a little bit to see if it ends up being good or not. Because like I feel like it's on that edge right now. But yeah, it's basically the Matrix, the anime.
Kinda, yeah. I can see your similarities. Muse basically, she created this world for these people so that they would be like really happy and stuff, but her being a computer program, she doesn't quite get it right. So anyways, Ritsu continues to escape with Shogo helping him. He ends up leaving the girl he has with him because she can't see these things and see these beings are attacking him, and they won't attack her because of it. They get away, and when Shogo tries to explain what is happening, Ritsu dumbly leaves him and goes back home to find that everybody that isn't in their school uniform suddenly has their heads distorted and talks like they are a program. This is dumb on Ritsu's part because wouldn't you want to stay with the guy that seems to have some idea of answers about this batshit crazy stuff that's suddenly happening to you?
Probably. Yeah.
I think I would at least hear him out.
Yeah.
So Ritsu finally plans to meet up with his friends and, actually thinking smartly for once, concludes it must be some type of outbreak that is causing either him to hallucinate or the other people to go crazy. But he confirms it's them that has something wrong with them and discovers that by playing one of Muse's songs, it will cause the students to transform. Shogo shows up again to save Ritsu and offers him answers if he wants to talk. He stupidly, again, walks away. 1 minute he's pretty smart, and then he's dumb mistake the next. We learn of a girl that's talking to Mew and refers to themselves as the Ostinato musicians. Ritsu and 3 others are compelled to leave the city, and the transportation drops them all off at a boundary where Mew shows up in the city that she has not created more of, but can create anything else if they like it. The other people are Mifu and a pair together called Kotaro and Suzuna. They're only listed as supporting characters, so they didn't get much attention for now, I guess. But if that made any sense to you, keep watching.
Yeah, that show seems like one that's going to be difficult to parse. But if you really are if you are like a psychology major in college, definitely check out this show. It might have something for you.
Like I said, the first episode, that stuff was cool, but then they didn't talk about it once in the second episode.
Oh, really? Well, I assume they will get more into it.
The only
later,
they did
we'll get into it later, though.
Him trying to figure out if he's sane or not. That's all they did with it.
Well, like, I do think they'll probably go back to it, and like it's not near as bad as I thought it would be for a sci-fi show. Most sci-fi anime are terrible. This is not terrible. It's just okay. So like,
I totally agree.
If you like sci-fi anime, then maybe give it a shot. Like, give it a couple episodes. So
yeah. All right, moving on. We've got Food Wars San no Sara, which is like part 2 of this 3rd season of Food Wars. I watched the first few episodes of this, and I can tell all the Food Wars fans that like the show continues to be like really fun. And we're coming out of like this arc that had Irina in this really like terrible abusive relationship with her father, who had taken over the academy, and he was like issuing these edicts that everybody had to cook like one way, and look, the people from the Polar Star dormitory like worked together to get Irina out of there. And so now she's like really found this place for herself to grow and change as a member of the Polar Star dorm. And she's been inspired by them. It's like to push her cooking to the next level, and also like help them to push their own cooking further, so that they can show her father that his way of cooking isn't like the only correct way, which is a really fun plot thing.
It's the big showdown right now in the manga.
Yeah. Well, the manga is way ahead. I think.
It's way, way, way ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, I would highly recommend that Food Wars fans, like, even if you were like discouraged by like what had come before this season, like jump back on, because I think it's been really enjoyable. Irina has been very cute the first couple episodes of this season, with her and Soma. She got a little
bit of a nice side back. Like, I don't know. I kind of don't like the, oh, isn't she adorable part, but like it's good to see her being a warm person as well as an asshole sometimes.
It's a little dare to go with that son, you know.
Yeah. And then also, I think that the animation is better than it was the first part of this season. Like, because like I said earlier, like last few episodes, I got really fucking tired with the first part of this season because of all the like CG and shit in it. And it was going downhill. And I feel like they realized that they still have people watching the show and that they weren't happy with it. And so they fixed it. And so the animation is noticeably better this time.
Has it always been the same studio?
Yeah, it's always been JC staff, I think. Yes. Okay. But yeah, no, it's still fun. Like, this is still like one of the shonen shows that I keep watching because I just like the characters. It always like makes me feel good, except for that weird plot with her abusive father, which I am really happy that we're past now. But also that makes him into an interesting villain for them to tackle. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
If we don't have anything else on that, we can move on.
All right. So I'm going to tell you bitches about Libra of Nil Admirari, or whatever the fuck they want to call it. This show is mediocre. It's about like this upper class lady whose family is like rich and like old rich, but they're in economic decline. So like her dad's about to like marry her off to this like newly rich dude because like he wants her old family name and she needs money for her family. So like, you know, it'll work out. Sense. Yeah, it seems to be set somewhere in Europe. I don't know. So then she's about to be married off. Her brother like flips his shit. And I'm like, do you have some sort of sister complex? Like, I get that you're unhappy that she's being married off, but like from what she said, like she always expected to be. So I don't know why you're this upset. So like he freaks out, goes back home, and like the sister's just like, oh, well, maybe he's just upset. I'll go out and like get him his favorite things because apparently this dude needs to be spoiled like a 5-year-old. And like she comes back and like goes into his room and he like lights himself on fire. And I'm like, okay.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. Oh, but he survives. It's fine, right? Because people usually survive from being lit on fire. Oh, wow. And then it turns out that he didn't do it of his own will. Like an evil book made him do it. And apparently these evil books are everywhere, just like waiting to kill people with their evilness. And like, then the main character, like she's like, oh, the book is on fire. I can see that it's evil. And like, so then these people from this weird library organization come and they're like, we must have you in our organization because you can see which books are evil. And she's like, okay, I guess I'm joining this library organization to find evil books. And so, it's like a bunch of like pretty boys that are not even well drawn, and her trying to like track down these evil books before they make people like do weird shit like light each other on fire. I don't know.
Jeez, it has 7 mains. That's crazy.
The only
Dude, I almost want to check this out now after you read me this.
No, that sounds hilarious. I will definitely watch like the first 1 or 2 episodes now because I didn't have time to get to this.
The good thing I could say about it is the art style is interesting. It's almost like everything in the anime is like under candlelight or something. Like it has a weird lighting. It might take, it might take like there are better reverse harems this season that you could watch, but like it's its own thing. Whatever, if you really want to watch it, like go ahead.
Oh man! All right, yeah, I don't have anything else to say about that. That sounds crazy. How about Cutie Honey Universe?
Okay, so has anyone else watched this other than me?
No,
no, unfortunately, I couldn't get to this.
I don't think we watched this one in the next one.
I've heard bad things.
This could have been good. Like, I wanted to watch this because I was like, all right, I haven't seen any Cutie Honey before. Like, this could be a way for me to get into, like, one of these old series, kind of like Devilman Crybaby, you know? And I was like, all right, maybe this will be good. Like, I'm hyped for it. A lot of people took serious note of it. A lot of people were excited for this. But it's bad, y'all. It's not good. Like, it's not friendly towards people who've never seen any Cutie Honey, which I think is the majority of the anime, like, audience nowadays. Not very many people have seen anything of Cutie Honey. If you start watching this show and you've never watched any Cutie Honey, it will be as if you started watching episode 13 of a 26-episode anime without seeing anything or knowing anything. Because, like, there's so much in this where you're like, what is that? I don't understand what's going on. Like, you know? It's male-centric.
That's always not fun.
Yeah. It's got an old-timey feel, which is something that I think a lot of people prize. So if you're really into that, or if you've seen Cutie Honey before, maybe you'll want to watch it.
Yeah, I'm just doing a Google image search, and like the character designs are very like 80s, 90s.
Yeah. So like if you like that old timey feel,
that.
or if you've seen Cutie Honey before, maybe you try to get through it. Especially if you've seen Cutie Honey before, then maybe this show is for you. But if you want just male-centric fan service, like there are much better shows this season for you to watch to like get some boobs and shit. Also, there are times that the fan service is so ridiculous as to just be mind-boggling. Like each time that the main blonde bitch character like walks or runs in this anime, we inexplicably have this perfect view of like up under her skirt slightly as she walks away. And like every time she takes a step, it's just like flash panties, flash panties, flash panties.
Oh my
It's
God.
hilarious. Also, during the fight scene at the end of the first episode especially, like it belongs in a hentai. So like all of her like leotard gets ripped off, but these like two teeny tiny bits that are covering just the slightest bit of her nipples, and like on the back of her just this tiny little strip that's covering just her butt crack like remains, but the rest
I've seen this tweet picture. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
The rest of her leotard is gone, and like somehow miraculously, like those little tiny bits of cloth like just remain for the rest of the fucking fight scene. They're just hanging in there, and she just like no, like as it's like ripping it off her. It belonged in a hentai. I was like, why don't you just make this a hentai? Why don't you just let him start like fucking her? Like I don't know.
God.
But yeah, like the villain is also like very like lesbian chick. Like it's very like, ooh, I want to fuck you. Like
Wow.
Well, that sounds good.
it's interesting.
So in all honesty, it sounds like you're like enjoying hate watching this a little bit.
A little bit, because sometimes I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Like
So if you kind of want like a ridiculous fan service romp, then maybe this is for you. I don't know.
There's also a part where her roommate gets like tied up in shibari, like by the headmistress, and she's got like whip marks all over her, and like Cutie Honey comes back and she's like, oh, thank you for taking it for the team. And I'm like, what the fuck school is this?
And why can't I go?
I know, right? No.
Oh man.
You got any other shows with the word cutie in them?
Oh, okay. So
Good transition.
Yeah. So I'm going to also cover Cute Earth High Defense Club Happy Kiss. So like this is the third season. It says it's like the sequel, but it's really more like a spiritual successor to the first two Cute Earth High Defense Club anime. So this one is sort of like a reboot. It's got new characters. And if you haven't seen the first two, you probably could totally watch this and be fine. Like, you would be aware that there was something that happened before this, but it wouldn't affect your understanding or enjoyment of this season of the show. Because, like, it's all new characters and everything. So, like, these shows are always just ridiculous and fun and fantastical. It's like a magical girl show, like, done, like, crazy. Like, done ridiculous, kind of. Like, it's a magical boy anime, basically. So... 4 guys in the first episode are hanging out in a bathhouse, and this otter prince shows up. So it's like he's got like a human form, but he's also like actually an otter. He's an alien prince, and he demands that these 4 naked dudes be his magical knights, and they refuse, and they're like, we're just gonna leave now because you're fucking weird. But he's like,
Wait,
no. Oh, go ahead.
I thought it was a continuation of something.
It's like I said, it's the spiritual.
This sounds
successor.
exactly like. Oh, okay. Because I was like, this
Were you
already
listening,
sounds
Leo?
like the very first. No, I checked.
Just
out
explained
sometimes.
all of this.
So it's the same sort of thing, but it's with new characters. So like, it's the same. It's similar, but it's with new characters. It's almost like a reboot. So they refuse. They're like, no, we don't really want to. But then he's like, well, I'm going to make you. So like, you're going to do it anyway. So like, he turns them all into magical knights. And then the most uninterested and lazy one of them, which is the one with white hair, is appointed as the leader because his costume is red. And then they go on this tangent about like, well, why do I have to be the leader? And he's like, because your costume is red. And like the red costume is always the leader. And they like have this debate about like why it is that the red character is always the leader. It's good. And then they go off to fight like the monster of the week, the first one, by like making him happy. And really it's just like a blonde Shota boy who's like really cute looking and like really sweet, but his voice has like changed, and so now he talks like this. Like he's a blonde Shota boy.
Wow.
So he's been infected with some sort of like magic, and he's like rampaging around, like causing problems. So like they defeat, the monster, and then at the end you realize that the Otter Prince who made them his magic knights has a brother who is challenging his right to the throne, basically, and he has his own magic knights. So at some point, like the two groups of magic knights will probably fight. So it's just going to be more like ridiculous, magical boy, fantastical fun, just like the first two seasons. Like if you liked the first two, or if you like this sort of thing, you should check it out.
That sounds like fun. Yeah, That sounds ridiculous in a good way. But what if you don't just like magical boys? What if you like magical girls who turn into magical boys? Or just girls who turn into magical boys?
Oh, I got a show for you then. It's called Mahou Shoujo Ore, and we're finally on Mondays. So, episode 1, Magical Girl Transform. Saki is an aspiring idol because she wants to get closer to her partner and friend's older brother, Mohiro. The episode begins with Saki having a dream about being a magical girl and hooking up with Prince Peach. She
names in this anime.
Yeah. She oversleeps and rushes out the door to her gig. The show then makes us suffer through one of her songs that is performed very poorly, and nobody even showed up for it. And then we have to sit through one of Mohiro's songs. The show is killing me at this point, man. She goes back home to find some Yakuza dude kicking her gate in. Turns out Saki's mother used to be a magical girl up to a month ago, but hurt her back, so she can't do it anymore.
So my question with that is, now that I've seen the first few episodes, like how did she not realize that her mother was a magical girl? Like didn't she see her like sneaking out the back, like in her uniform, like ready to go?
Yeah, no, that's a little bit of a plot hole.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. So the Yakuza dude is Kokoro-chan, wants Saki to be his next magical girl. She refuses until Mohiro gets attacked by the muscle squirrel demons and taken prisoner. She rushes
attacked by Julio? Could you just tell me again who he got attacked by?
Muscle squirrel demons.
Okay,
the
just wanted to make sure I'm not having a stroke and I heard that correctly.
The naked muscle squirrel demons.
Yes.
Let's get it right.
They're big buff dudes. They're basically JoJo characters, except their heads are a squirrel and they got a squirrel tail. She rushes to the scene and is instructed to yell out her crush's name to transform. She transforms into a muscular guy. It ends with her very confused. Also, during the transformation, they do an upskirt shot of her now bulge in her panties in all its glory, and I was just like, oh god, I don't know if I can take this show, guys.
Oh, come on.
It's amazing.
I honestly, I actually had higher hopes for the show, and I wasn't that entertained. All the crazy, it wasn't that funny. I just didn't feel like the jokes were landing for me very well.
I actually felt the same way when I watched the first episode, that the jokes didn't quite land for me, except there was one that involved like a ton of blood, and that made me laugh like really loud. I can't remember exactly what happened.
That's the second episode. The second episode I feel like is a better episode than the first episode.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to me, it looks better on paper. Like reading this, I laughed way more than I did watching the episode. And the same thing when I read the description. I was like, this sounds crazy. I want to watch it. Then I watch it. I'm like, it's not so good in practice.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, it does get better in the second. Did you watch the second episode, Leo?
I did. Oh,
yes.
Yeah, Leo. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, did you like the second
answer for
episode
me.
better? Or?
I'm sorry.
Because I know Bcom
Yeah, I kind of liked it better.
I liked it better, too.
They toned down the crazy just a little bit more, and it's more tolerable, but...
Well, I don't know if they toned down the crazy. There's some crazy shit in there.
Maybe I just got a little bit more used to it.
They toned down the crazy, toned up the tentacle rape, and that's where we are.
Yeah. No, is it kind of like how you remember when she turns into the magical boy the second time, and she's like, "I sort of got used to it now," and she's like depressed. Was that you on the second episode, Leo?
Pretty much. That's pretty good analogy.
Okay, so in the second episode, it starts where it left off, where she just turned into a boy magical girl. So she's like flipping her shit. The Yakuza guy actually very practically points out that guy bodies are much more suited to fighting. And that's why when you're a magical girl, you transform into a boy in a magical girl uniform. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Kind of a little science behind it.
Yeah.
Their thighs don't lie. Let me say.
Right? The Yakuza guy like occasionally starts talking and it's like, really cutesy boys. Like I almost can't do it. Like it's so fucking hilarious. Because he'll have like a gun and he's like a badass with scars all over his face and a suit like a regular Yakuza guy. And then he's like, oopsie, like, I'm like, no, you can't talk like that.
Spit it out, cat. Spit it out.
Okay, so she gets really upset because like they all ask who you are, basically like, who are you? And she's like, I can't say who I am because like I had to hide my identity. And then she's like, in order to lie about my identity, I must lie to myself. And she's like, I'm a magical girl. And she like whoops these squirrels like hardcore. And at one point, the Yakuza guy's like, throw your grenades, like, they'll help, or throw your hairpins. And she's like, okay. And she, like, throws her hairpins, and they're grenades, and they just explode. And she's like, I can't do that. This is a residential area. And so she's like, don't you have something else for me? And he just brings out, like, a gun. And he's like, here you go. It's a magical handgun. And it's like, no, that's a gun. So then she basically kind of goes like, the magical girl life is far too violent. So she's like, is there anything safe I can use? And he hands her like a staff, which is just like basically a cutesy looking like staff.
It's a staff.
That's all it is.
That's all it
has
does.
No powers. It's just cute
it does
looking.
staff things.
Yeah, so she has to like literally beat them with it physically. And so you just hear all these like beating noises with like censored images and like ketchup blood.
Yeah, okay, that was the part that cracked me up. It's like this cute magical girl who has now turned into a magical man is just beating the shit out of these people, like beating them to a bloody pulp.
Yeah, with the cute looking staff too.
Yeah, with the cuteness combined with like the bloody like censored imagery really cracked me up.
And then she's like, the gap between image and reality is too harsh. So then like now that she's beat all the squirrel people, like the love interest is basically like in love with her boy form. Like he has an immediate crush on the magical boy form of her. So like, and he also legit has no brain. Like, I feel like he literally just must have air inside his head. Like, he just bows to her, like, 10 times as he walks away. Can't say a word. Like, I don't know. It's interesting. Then she realizes her friend and her manager also saw the whole thing. And they're kind of looking at her like, oh, we saw that, girl. But then they're kind of like, oh, it was fine, though. Because, like, her friend's in love with her, right? Like... So,
yes.
So
even though she's a man now, she's still in love with her.
Yeah. So she's like, you were cute, and like the manager is like a magical girl fanatic, so of course he's fine with it too. So then the next morning, there's this shot of her mother being like, "You're a magical girl now. You need to eat more than just bread." And she like gives her this thing, and it's like a bowl of rice and salmon, but like instead of just showing it animated, they like go to it and it's just a picture of like a real rice and salmon bowl.
It's just like no effort at all. That was actually like, kind of hilarious.
So then Mahiro's bandmate Hyoe, I can't hardly say his name, Hyoe?
Yeah, sure, that sounds right.
Yeah, and steals and steals Hohiro, like who's the guy that she likes. So is he into Mohiro, or is he just like? So I'm wondering is Hyoe really into Mohiro, or is he just wanting to fuck with Saki? Like I can't really decide which one it is.
It's hard to tell.
Definitely wanting to fuck with Saki.
I don't know. He might also.
It's either that or it's both.
Yeah, I think it might be both. I can't really tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Hyoe is also like this guy who has like red eyes and looks like a demon person, but like a hot demon person. So immediately I was like, oh, I like him. Like, I don't know why. And then apparently Mohiro is afraid of Saki because she's constantly drooling over him like a dog in heat. And like as Hyoe says this, like Mohiro just looks away and it's obvious it's true. And I'm just like, oh, this is so sad. Like, and then after after they leave together, Kakuriyo like asks Saki like, why do you like my brother? Why are you in love with him? And now it's like usually the part in a story where you would learn like why Mohiro is a good guy and why she's in love with him, and you'd have like this tangent, you know. But really, you just find out he's an idiot that helped her once in the woods, like when she fell.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I think he even cries in the flashback too.
I think so. But yeah, Kakuriyo is upset that, you know, Saki likes him because, you know, Sakuriyo's in love with her. So then the Yakuza like flies up to her in like a tiny baby form with wings, which is fucking gross and creepy. So he flies up to her and he's like has that voice again that's like kika or whatever. And he's like squirrelmen are after Mohiro again. And it's at this moment as she transforms that I'm like, she has a penis. Like, I want to see them make a joke about the fact she has a dick. But of course they didn't in this episode.
The joke was they put it on the screen in the first episode and you're like, oh God.
I think there's more of that in the next couple episodes.
I want them to be like,
Jesus.
It jiggles when I run or something.
Oh God.
Look at this. I'm looking at the characters list. There's 2 characters. You guys ready for their names?
Yeah.
Sure.
The first one is Mahou Shoujo Everything Crazy Beauty.
Sounds good.
The other one
Everything
is
Crazy
Mahou
Beauty.
Shoujo Eternal Dangerous Pretty.
I like the
that one
second
better.
one. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm just
That's
like,
good.
how outrageous are these 2 characters going to be? Good God.
Yeah. So, okay, then she gets there and it's not Squirrelman this time. It's Octopus Men. So it's like the same idea. It's like a JoJo character, but then below the waist, it's just octopus tentacles. So like then you get the whole stereotypical like tentacle scene with her getting trapped and like it reveals her underwear and she's wearing like strawberry panties and she's a guy and she's like, no, and like it's ridiculous. And then Sakio,
And then we have our love confession.
yeah, and Sakio runs in and saves her and is like, I'm gonna save you because I love you, and like turns into a magical girl / boy as well. And then that's the end of the second episode.
God. It's so ridiculous. Oh man. It's almost
It's
like
so
eye-searingly like ridiculous.
It's amazing.
Yes, very true.
It is pretty amazing in some ways. Oh man. I don't know. Yeah, no, I had fun with the show. I agree. I think this is a great one for like group watches too, because I watched that first episode in a group and it was such a fun experience.
It
Oh,
was-
yeah.
People like whooping with laughter.
Yeah, I can't imagine that would be really fun to watch. Maybe I can
All
get
right.
Bob to watch it and get his reactions.
Oh, good luck. That'll be funny. You should like record
No, it'll
that
be how many
secretly.
times he looks at me with wide eyes like, what the fuck are you making me watch?
All right, so we'll move on to a less ridiculous show, which is called Golden Kamuy, which is on Crunchyroll.
Less ridiculous is completely serious. Give me a break.
Well, I don't know about those bears, man. Those bears are not serious enough for me.
There are some ridiculous things about this show, even if it's a good show overall. You have to admit, Leo.
Yeah. All right, so let me get into this. So this is set in a weird time period that is usually not covered in anime. It's just after the end of the Russo-Japanese War, and we're following this soldier named Saichi Sugimoto who became a legend during the war because of his like bravery and his like just survival instinct, and so he became called like the immortal soldier Sugimoto or immortal Sugimoto. But he was left with like really little to show for all of that legendary status because he almost killed his superior officer who he just didn't like. And so that leaves him just like exiled from the army, and he's like panning for gold in the river in Hokkaido on his way home from the war. And there's like this drunken man by the river who tells him a tale of how the Ainu, who are a group of people indigenous to Hokkaido in northern Japan, during the Japanese gold rush had stored this huge treasure of gold that they were going to use to fight the Japanese who were taking their land forcefully and trying to assimilate them into Japanese society at the time. So the man tells Saichi how like a single man killed the Ainu who were hoarding all this gold, and he stole all of it. But then he hid it away somewhere in Hokkaido and was arrested and put in prison after he did that. So he couldn't tell anyone like where the gold was because like they would just go get it for themselves. So he thought up this crazy scheme where he tattooed like a map or a code of some sort onto the bodies of like his fellow prisoners, and he promised them that if they all stuck to that together and used this map, that they would all be able to get like half of the gold that he stored away.
This is where
the trick was,
I think it's ridiculous. Sorry,
it is pretty ridiculous. Yeah. The trick is like all of the prisoners have to escape together, because if you don't have any part of the map on their bodies, like it doesn't work. Like you just can't find it. So Saichi's like, oh, that's really interesting. And then this drunken man realizes he's kind of said too much, and he's like just been drunk and talking about this. And so he tries to kill Saichi, but Saichi like hunts him down, and he finds like he's been killed by, the guy's gotten killed by a bear. Saichi is then attacked by this mother bear, but a young Ainu girl named Asirpa saves him by firing like or shooting a poisoned arrow into the bear and killing it. So she really knows her way around the forest and warns Saichi to run if he doesn't want to die. And they leave the drunk's body because it wasn't like the mother bear who attacked him, but it was called a Wenkamui, which is like a pissed off bear that hasn't hibernated and is very angry and hostile. Mm-hmm. So Saichi
learned so many new things this show.
Oh yeah, it's really interesting. Like all the stuff about Ainu culture that you can learn from this show is really interesting because it's like not a culture.
It's actually been researched. Yeah,
it's researched.
It's almost like the Native American culture of Japan, but like
basically
white people. Like it's interesting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's for sure. I love the setting. I love that it's a historical setting, and I like the characters. I like Saichi as a character. I like Aspira. I can't really pronounce her name very well. I like her as a character. Mm-hmm.
How are you supposed to say it?
I just think it's Asirpa. Okay.
Asirpa?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just didn't like the whole like, and then he tattooed them like thing, because that's so bullshit. Like no one would ever do that. But I do think it'll be a really good show. It'll be really interesting. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, at the end of that first episode, Saichi explains the whole story about like the tattoos to Asirpa, and they're barely like this Wenkamui then like attacks them. They're barely able to take it down together, and she gets help from this like white wolf named Retar, who has a very unfortunate name. But I think she calls him Retar, but still. Asirpa like tells Saichi that her father was one of the Ainu guys who was slaughtered when transporting all of the gold. So she has a motivation to find this gold or find the people who had stolen the gold, because she wants revenge for her father's death. And Saichi just wants the money. So he's like, hey, Asirpa, let's team up. We both have like the same goals and we can help each other. Like together we'll be unstoppable. Mm-hmm. So that's basically it.
He kind of goes into like the reason he wants the gold is like his best friend married a girl who like she's going blind. And like his best friend got killed in the war. And I kind of got the impression that like the best friend wanted Saichi to like marry her so that she would be taken care of.
Could be, yeah.
Kind of.
Or at least take care of her like financially or set her up, like make her life easier.
Yeah, so he wants to like be able to help her because like that was his best friend and like the only friend he had, I think. And so he's kind of like, I'm going to do right by my friend and take care of his girl. And I need money for that, kind of.
One thing that has been commented on
you want to talk about the
by everyone who has watched
the
this
elephant
anime.
In the room, or should we say the bear in the room?
The bear is animated in CGI, and so is the wolf. The bear CGI looks fucking terrible. There's no debate. It just looks terrible. I know, Leo, you're saying you like it. I don't understand.
I don't understand.
Well, the thing is,
like
I was kind of forewarned, so my expectations were low.
It looked worse than I was expecting still.
The bear and the wolf are kind of represented as sort of magical or mythical in their own way. So I liked that kind of set them apart from it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my only case I got for it.
So, okay, the issue isn't even that it was CGI. It's just that they didn't blend it with the other animation very well at all. So, like, there's this stark contrast in the way...
It totally blended with the fire.
Well, okay, but when both are on the screen at once, it looks fucking weird because they didn't blend it well, right?
I think the CGI fire also looked really bad.
It did look really bad. So, like,
are you sure that just wasn't an actual GIF inserted into it?
Yeah, which is a shame because the rest of the animation for this, other than the CGI, does not look that bad. It's not amazing, but it's average level. Like, it's decent. And so for them to fuck it all up by adding the CGI... and then not blending it in with the rest, it's just like amateur. Like, I don't understand who did that.
I guess there's either two reasons. One is that they knew they were going to have to do a lot of movement scenes with the bear and the wolf, and they thought that rigging it once and then doing CGI would work better. Obviously that did not work out. But like the other reason is maybe they thought like Leo said, they wanted them to look otherworldly and scary, and still it just doesn't work out. Like it just looks bad. And I don't know. Like bear makes a reappearance in like episode 3 or 4. I can't remember. I think it's 3. And it just looks so terrible. But the frame rate is just so low on the CGI. And we know that good CGI is possible. We have seen like Land of the Lustrous and like parts of Inuyashiki that looked great. So no, it's just disappointing.
So you'll be glad to know in episode 2, there wasn't any.
This is true.
I think they got the feedback pretty damn quickly from that first episode. And they were like, okay, we just need to back the fuck off on that.
Or they did it themselves. Because of production, they were already way through episode 2 before episode 1 aired.
That's true.
Or either they looked at it themselves and they went, ooh, maybe we should stop that.
Yeah. Is there anything you liked in particular about episode 2, Leo?
So episode 2 is called Nopperabo, which stands for a man with no face. So Saiichi and Asurpa set out some squirrel traps before they head into town and start asking around if anybody has seen somebody with tattoos on their bodies. Nobody has, but apparently somebody else has been asking about the same thing. The two leave town and head back to camp. As they're heading back to camp, they knowingly know that somebody is following them. They catch him in an improvised version of the squirrel trap that Asurpa set earlier, and instead of killing him and skinning him like they did the other guy, Asurpa sketches the man's tattoo instead of killing him. In the middle of interrogation, the prisoner gets sniped from a distance by a soldier from the 7th Division known for their badassery specifically.
Yeah.
Saiichi fights him for a bit, and the soldier named Ogata eventually falls down a cliff, hitting his head and then landing in the water. I always say no body, no death, which is exactly what happens later on when his division barely saves him from the river.
That was kind of hard to believe. Because like he falls like from a cliff into freezing water.
Like, snaps his neck on the cliff halfway down. Yeah.
And then like into freezing water, and then they find him down the river. Like he would have been dead. Like,
probably.
Come on.
Hey, they're known for their badassery.
This is true.
They catch another prisoner, but he is a master escape artist and frees himself, and Saiichi pursues. During the chase, the snow gives way and the two plunge into the river. The two then have to work together to make a fire, and they eventually part ways. The prisoner's name is Shiraishi, and we will see more of him later since he is also listed as a main character. Ogata wakes up at the very end, and some creepy looking guy in his division goes to talk to him, and that's where it ends. Cat, your cat has an opinion I can hear back there.
I know. He is being fucking loud right now.
Oh, really?
He will not shut his mouth.
Barely picking it up.
I really like the dynamic between the two main characters in the show. I love how independent Asurpa and Saiichi both are, and they both bring like different skills to the table, and like they're just like a really cool team.
Together, they are one hell of a tag team for sure.
Leo, I was thinking about what was that anime? Not
Yeah,
Allison.
give me something to go on, man.
It was the one with like the warrior and the little girl who turned out to be a lolly after the fact or something.
Oh, Alice no Zoroku? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's not Alice and Zoroku, but it's something like that from the same season. I can't think of it. Shit. Oh well.
I kind of thought Cabaneri No Fortress, but you're not thinking of that.
Well, it was like, oh god, it was an anime where there was like an older man and a younger girl, and they were teaming up, and like she was like a witch or whatever. But like, yeah, I don't know. It reminded me of that, except better, because like it's just like these two main characters have a better camaraderie, and like especially Asirpa, like with her Ainu culture, especially which they get into episode 3, is really intriguing to follow. And just like some of the jokes that she makes, like in episode 3, he's eating like miso with his food. And she's like, oh, why are you eating poop with your food? Like, it's disgusting. He's like, I'm Japanese.
She's like, man, I'm going to cook this since you can't eat it raw because you're a pussy, I guess. But
no, yeah, there's some really fun
and it's
stuff
funny because like
them.
she wants to make her traditional Ainu food, and he's just like, ugh. But she's like, fine, I'll put it into like meatballs for you and cook it. And he's like, okay, thank you.
You know, and I honestly don't think I've watched the show that you're trying to talk about because nothing comes to mind at all.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's the next episode. It's good. I really like this show. It's one of the best of the season for me so far.
Yeah, no, it's not one of the best of the season for me, but I do really like it, and I'm going to continue to watch it. I think rightfully so, there was a lot of flashback on it for like the CGI, but like I think it's going to have a dampening effect on the audience for this anime, which is a shame. Like, give it another shot, because they did stop with the CGI, and the animation overall is not bad once they got rid of that. So,
well, they've stopped with the CGI for now that we could tell, at least this episode.
Yeah, and it is a really good story with good characters. Yeah. So, like, just
I think I think you can overlook the CGI because the rest of it is pretty damn amazing. Just suck it up.
Yeah.
Is that it? You guys got anything else you want to add to that?
No, you can move on to the next one.
Okay, we can cross over into another show called Fumikiri Jikan, also known as Crossing Time.
By the way, the show I was talking about was Grimoire of Zero with the little girl and like
Why did you not say the tiger dude?
I couldn't think of what he was.
I would have known exactly what
that would have gave it away.
I was blanking like crazy. Anyway, sorry. Continue with Railroad Crossing Time.
So it's only like a 3.5 minute short. Episode 1, their youth. 2 girls named Ai and Tomo wait at a crossing railroad for the train to pass by. Ai complains about wasting her youth waiting on this stupid train to pass and suggests they shout out their love interest when it passes by as a way to express their youth. And the sound of the train, would drown out their confession. So Ai does this to trick Tomo into shouting because then she can ask her about it afterwards and, the person she likes. But she accidentally shouted her name, and then not accidentally, on purposely, and she's like, "You like me?" What?
Well, but like earlier in the short, she's like, 2 girls can't fall in love. And she's like, they can.
The other girl's like, yes, they can. And she's like, all right.
And then she's like,
and
now
then
it's
that
gonna be
happens,
very
and it's just
awkward
like
between us.
So because I then turns to her and she's like, no, Tomo goes, you didn't shout your lover's name. And I goes, but you shouted my name. And this was a great 3.5 minute short. I really, really enjoyed it.
I did too.
I also really was surprised by the first episode. I thought it was really fun. I did not expect like a little Yuri anime out of this at all. I didn't know what to expect from this, but I was like pleasantly surprised that is what we got, at least for the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I hated the second episode.
Before Kat does, I was fine with it because I was like, they just literally did a typical teenage boy's thoughts. At that
they
age
really
when you go into puberty.
Like guys do
That's exactly
think this,
what
though.
it was.
Like it's fine. Like guys do, So the second one is all about this super fucking thirsty dude. Like he is thirsty. Like most of it
every teenage boy, you don't want to know what goes through our fucking heads. So it's not until later on we learn to control ourselves better.
Well, I mean, you could argue he's controlling himself. Like he's not saying anything. He's just staring creepily at her. So like
I'm thinking more of like controlling your thoughts. Like settle down, dude. Come on.
Most of it is him obsessing over this attractive girl from his class who he waits at the crossing station every morning, named Majima, and he's being like creepy and like just staring at her from behind every day as he waits for the train crossing to open. And all he can think about is how hot she is, how short her skirt is, and how it blows a bit in the breeze. But he can't see what's under it. But like he wants to know what's under it, and how he's heard like that she has an older boyfriend who she must be fucking. And then he's thinking about how she fucks and like, oh, how she must be having sex. And she's like obsessed with it. He's just like, oh my God. So like then she comes over and tries to talk to him like a normal person, being like, oh, hey, like, I know you. You're from my class. How you doing? Good morning. I didn't know you took this route. And, like, all he could do is just stare at her because he only sees her as a pair of jiggling thighs. Like, that's all he sees her as.
Yeah, she even fixes his tie, and he's just like, he can't, he doesn't know how to talk to the girl, which I was like,
fixes her tie, or she fixes his tie, and, like, he is so, like, just fucked up
into a
over
statue.
it. Like he's just standing there and he like his voice just keeps getting higher in his head and I'm like, are you just about to jizz yourself right here? Like, is that what's about to happen? Because like
basically
it was pretty bad.
Where did my sweet adorable Yuri show go? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. So I think I'll continue to watching it because the episodes are only 3 minutes and some of them are really funny. Like later episodes, I think the third one is funny. Mm-hmm. And obviously the first one was good, and you're not investing much, so I might give it some more chance and just keep watching it. So
if you guys, as the way you look at it, if half of them are as good as the first episode and half of them are bad as the second episode, will you both still keep watching it just for one good episode?
Mm-hmm. There are a bunch of 3.5 minute shorts this season, and I would say this is definitely one of the better ones because there are some really pointless ones coming up that we'll talk about. So this one I thought was more fun.
Yeah, and my prediction on this show, it was either going to be fucking fantastic or awful, and somehow it's, if we go by what you guys think, it's somehow going to be both. So,
well, each episode is new characters. I can tell you that from the third episode.
I think that, like they did with Suradere Children, they will revisit after a couple episodes.
I hope so. Yeah, I would like to see more of the first girl coming back, Tomo.
And I also don't think it's necessarily a romance thing. Like it's not going to progress at all because like the third one isn't even romance at all. So,
interesting. Okay.
It's just kind of funny skits, I think, like comedy more than anything.
Cool. So we can do another show that we can literally find nothing about it. Creature Family Days. So it's so bad that between episode 1 and episode 2, they all had different names in episode 2. Like Tanis was Dexter and Aisley was Ashley.
Well, it's because I think the subber like was changing their names and then like they didn't change their names.
Yeah, and I told Bcom, I thought I watched the first episode in Japanese audio, but for some reason the second one was definitely in Cantonese. Yeah. So that was really weird. But anyways, it's really cool. The families, you should already know the basic description, but Tanis has to take care of his older 3 sisters and 1 brother, and they're just acting freaking crazy. I was totally blown away by the animation, how well it was. I was not expecting anything from this when they had like Aisley chasing this bug through the apartment, which was pretty cool. Bcom, you did take a minute to see that. What do you think?
It looked pretty good.
Yeah. So they do all that, and then eventually they like, it's just about, Tanis's daily struggles with his brothers and sisters that just, can't really cope with society very well. They've been experimenting on the whole time.
Explaining. So like there's 4 brothers and sisters and they were like lab experiments.
Yes.
And so
well, like I said, people, if you've read the description, you pretty much know that part mostly. So like Aisley's a spider girl, Snow can transform into a dog. Shishi is like a plant girl, so like when she stands in the sun, like plants grow off of her. And Suishi can read minds, and like she'll just like read Tanis' mind and say his real thoughts, which are always he's just super caring about the family. But it really sells it when he takes them all out to dinner. Mm-hmm. And they just fucking act like savages. Snow loses it to like his dog side and just starts chomping in, and Aisley is just like mincing this freaking I don't even know what it was at this point with her spider legs, and like Suishi's just like checking out. She's not even eating, she's just reading her book, and
she pretty much refuses to eat always, which I'm kind of like, you're not the plant girl. You actually have to eat something at some point.
And Ashishi is just like poking like this mushroom growing on the back of her hand, and he eventually like snaps, and then they all kind of like, yeah, you're right, and they start being not like a savage. And then there's like all this commentary of like the people around them, like, why are they even out here? They should just leave, and all that crazy stuff. But then in the end, they're like, all right, we'll try to do what Tanis did, and be the better people and be able to conform with society, and then like kind of makes them happy.
I really like the part where Tanis shows Isley how to use the fork, and he's been trying to teach them before that how to use chopsticks, and they just can't do it. And like after he gives them the fork, she's like, why didn't you bring out this shit before? This is what
Isley
I needed.
Is by far my favorite character, especially watching episode 2.
Is she the bug girl, or is she the plant girl?
The spider girl.
Isley.
Ashise really hasn't done much. She's pretty laid back, almost background character. She's very, very easygoing. She's the hippie.
Mm-hmm. Wait, so she's your favorite?
No, Aisley is.
Spider I'm asking, who is Aisley? Is she the bug girl, or who is she?
Spider girl, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew she was going to be best girl. Like, that was obvious.
I feel like when you just look at all the designs, like for whatever reason, her design stands out the most. So. Kat, take it on episode 2 for me.
All right. So in episode 2, Aisley wants to go out and explore the world, but Tanis is worried that there will be trouble because like she isn't acclimated to human society. In fact, I'd say she's like the least acclimated of all of them, and like she might do weird shit. Like, she's
tomboy.
Yeah. Also, she has giant bug arms on her fucking back, so like she probably shouldn't go out unless she could do something about them. So, like, he wants her to take a weird medicine that gets rid of her bug arms for a while, but apparently has, like, unpleasant side effects, and she won't take it. He has an outburst, and he's angry because, like, he feels like he does everything around the house for them, and he tries to take care of them as best he can. And he's really young. Like, I can't find things on how young he is, but he's a pretty young kid.
Yeah, but he's a child genius also.
Yeah, but he's still pretty young. Like, it doesn't matter how smart you are as a kid. Like, you're still a kid.
Why they called him Dexter now. Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah.
So do you think you were watching meme subs?
I don't know. No, but it was pretty legit. Okay. It seemed like it. I would have picked up on it if it was like fucking bad. But no, it made total sense.
He kind of feels a lot of pressure on himself to take care of them, even when a lot of them are older than him. And so he's just...
all of them.
Yeah, and he just like freaks out and is like, you should all listen to what I say because like I'm the only one who knows what's going on in society. And Isley gets angry and is like, well, then fine. Like, you do everything yourself. Like, we're not going to help you at all. And so, like, he goes to the grocery store by himself. Usually Snow goes with him. And so there's a flashback at this point, like, when they were at the research institute. So basically, okay, so what do you think is going on with the family? Are the kids just research subjects? Or, like, are they literally Tanis's family? Like, do you think Tanis just decided they're his family? Or are they actually his family?
I feel like they're all related by blood.
Okay.
They just decided to experiment on the first children, and then when Tanis turned out to be a boy genius, they decided not to experiment on him.
See, I think my theory is that they like took these kids in to experiment on him, and Tanis is their only biological child.
That's possible too. They just really haven't said. Tanis is definitely their biological child because they did say that, but they didn't really say so much about the other kids.
Yeah, and then also like, how do you think Tanis came to live with the others after? Because like they leave a lot of holes, and I don't know if they're going to address it later or not. And I feel like it's interesting because we'll probably have our own theories. Like, how do you think Tanis came to live with the others after his parents were taken to jail? Because like, it seems like an interesting thing.
I think the Japanese government messed up when they decided, oh, these parents are experimenting on these children. We should take them away and put them in jail. And then they just didn't do anything with them. I don't know why.
Who cares? But they would do something with them. So I think Tanis like decided at some point that like his parents were doing something wrong by experimenting on these people. And so he's the one who sent them to jail. That's what I think.
Their parents had a plan B in case the government did come for them, so
because
they
you have
could
to
get
admit,
away.
His parents
they were smart
did
enough.
Something fucking wrong. Like they did something wrong. Like they don't treat them very well. Like there's this scene in they don't treat them bad, but they don't treat them like people very much either. Like there's a scene in the flashback where they're like, well, like the other people the other like experiments aren't gonna eat with us because like they're dumb and you're not dumb, and like, you know, we're not gonna eat with them. Like, you remember that?
Yes, I do.
So I do think like the parents, I don't know.
Well, they talked a little bit about this episode. They may bring it back up again. The show's turning out to be completely like them learning to conform with society and be able to operate as a family. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what makes it really interesting. It's also this weird 18-minute show.
Yeah, it's a little shorter than normal.
Yeah, well, it's Chinese, so
like,
I guess.
The series is really not about the dark backstory at all, because I do think that's kind of like a dark backstory there, but it occasionally gives you these little bits, and it's interesting. And I do enjoy like the funness of it too. Like on its surface, it's a fun thing as well.
Yeah.
So apparently Tanis is hopeless with direction, and he gets lost. And it's understandable, because like this kid is pretty damn young. Like of course he gets lost. So the others
he said it's his one weakness is his sense of direction.
Well, but also he's a kid, like, you know.
Yeah.
So the others come and find him and bring him home, and they all make up. Then like Tanis figures out that he can like give Isley a backpack and like put makeup on her face, and then she's disguised without having to take the pill, which she appreciates. And like that's the end of that episode. But yeah, that was sweet. It's to see Isley like make up with Tanis was very sweet.
Oh yeah, when they were instructed not to leave the house, but Tanis had been gone like 3 hours. Yeah. So they go out to find him, and then like Suishi is turning out to be the pretty smart one. She's like, oh, he's down that cliff, but none of us have the physical capability of going down there except for Isley, who had the big fight with him earlier. So she goes and saves him, and then like he's so happy, he hugs her, you know, she hugs her back, and you know, Suishi did that completely on purpose. So
oh yeah, Suishi is my best girl, by the way. I like her.
Oh yeah. Ooh. Quiet book reading girl, reading everybody's minds.
Yep.
That's all I got. So if we want to move on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Kat, you've got Piano no Mori.
Okay. So this is a really good show that unfortunately Netflix has. So like we won't get it for a while. Yeah. So like it starts out with one of the main characters, Kai, like performing professionally as he's a little older. And they really draw out this first piano scene. And it's a good one. Like, it's a good piano scene. Like, they're playing the music. Each character has their own, like, professional piano player that is around their same age in the real world performing these pieces for them, too. Which is, like, really good. Like, they really put a lot of effort into the show. The only thing I had a gripe about in this first scene was that they do some CGI to get the hand movement when they're really close up with the hands, like good, but then his hair looks weird because it's CGI when they do it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But I feel like it's probably the only way they could get the hand movement that good. So I kind of understand, but like, then the story flashes to like back in the past where we meet the other main character, Imania, I think is how you say it. Mm-hmm. Imania and Kai go to the same elementary school in a small country town. And Imania has just moved there and is new. And his dad is a professional piano player. And his family is pretty well off. Like you can kind of tell he's like a rich boy. You kind of sense that Imania from the first episode is getting a lot of pressure from his parents to also be a professional piano player when he gets older, and that pressure is like really weighing heavily on him. And the first time Imania meets Kai, he thinks he's a girl. This is quickly cleared up. Imania immediately becomes a target of some light bullying, which Kai kind of saves him from, and Kai gets beat up instead. And then Kai hides under the piano in the music room to cry. And the music teacher comes in and starts to play something to give Kai time to collect himself and distract him. And you can see that Kai like really enjoys listening to him play the piano. But then after the teacher is done, Kai like loudly critiques him, saying his left hand fell behind in a few places and he missed some notes. And the music teacher is shocked since he's only played that song once in class, and he can't see how Kai can know it that well to critique him about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So later in the episode, Kai takes Imania into the forest to see his like forest piano. Apparently someone threw it out and Kai goes out to play it at night. Imania can't play it because it's all fucked up and jank and stuff.
I was getting ready to say, shouldn't it just be like way out of tune?
Yeah. The humidity would fuck it up immediately.
Rain and shit. Yeah, but like Kai can easily play it. And you can get the idea that he learned to play really hard on the keys in order to get the sound out because it's all jank. Because Kai loves to play piano, and this is the only one he has. Because Kai comes from like a really poor family, and his mom is like a prostitute, and so like this is all he's got, you know. Okay. And he's just Kai. You can tell by the way he plays in the first episode, like he is a prodigy at the piano naturally. Amania loves hearing Kai play. Then Kai takes Amania to his house to meet his mom, which, like I just said, she's a prostitute, but she's really nice. And Amania has a good time and kind of like has a crush on the mom immediately.
That's funny.
So Kai lives on the outskirts of the red light district. And like as Kai walks with Amania from his house to Amania's house, you can kind of see how bad of an area it is. Like you can see how bad Kai kind of has it in some ways. So like then Amania takes Kai to his house, and Kai has a bit of trouble playing the normal piano because he's used to playing so damn hard on that other piano. Yeah. Then they talk about their music teacher with Amania's mom, who I already fucking hate. Like she's so annoying. And she gets all excited because he used to be a famous pianist who was in a car accident and hurt his hand. So she immediately tries to get the teacher to give Amania piano lessons, which like he turns down. And then the music...
I immediately thought Doctor Strange.
Oh.
Yeah, no, the music teacher is talking with Amania about why he refused the piano lesson. And Amania's like, no, you don't have to. I mean, I get it. Like, my mom's a bitch. Like, he doesn't say that, but like, that's kind of the feeling. Amania mentions that Kai plays a piano out in the forest, which shocks the music teacher. So the teacher goes out to the forest at night to see if it's really true and listens to Kai play in shock. Like you could, so actually the teacher is the one who threw out the piano. And like he used to use it, and he used to be the only one who could get it to play because like he could play hard too. So the teacher is convinced that Kai is very naturally gifted, and he needs to like help Kai become a good piano player and like be professional. So you can tell right off the bat that Amania and Kai are going to be really good friends. But the fact that Amania is under such pressure from his parents and the society he's in to be a great piano player, and that Kai is such a natural prodigy at the piano, is eventually going to be a source of conflict between them.
Sure. Yeah.
The piano playing in this series is really good. And like the story is really damn good. They put a lot in each episode. Like a lot of story gets packed in there. It's a shame that this is a Netflix show. I really want to watch it like now.
Yeah, I wish like a more reliable fan subbing group had picked this up.
Yeah, and that's
like,
another
that I could
thing.
Definitely trust.
The fan subbing for this that's out right now is not great either. Probably because they all know like, well, Netflix is going to be out soon, so like we're not going to get a lot of money out of it if we fan sub it. That's probably why, to be fair. Yeah. But yeah, so it's really good. Most people will probably just wait for it to be on Netflix, but definitely check it out when it does get on Netflix because it's damn good. So
cool. Yeah, I'm really interested in watching that. And if you like are having trouble waiting for Netflix, there is a movie of Piano no Mori that came out that you could watch in advance of the Netflix show coming out. So yeah.
Man, I had no interest in the show, but you've kind of convinced me, Kat. I'm going to definitely have to give this a watch now.
I felt like I had to be an advocate for this show. I was like, everyone needs to watch this damn show. I will make it so you watch it.
Nice. I have not watched the second show.
Yeah, I wish I had time to get to this next one. Kakuriyo no Yadomeshi.
Yeah, so okay. So I will then go ahead with this.
Okay.
So basically the first episode is you find out that the main character, Aoi, is like alone in the world. She's a college student and she's like kind of an orphan. Although I have a feeling her parents kind of abused her from the first episode because they talk about how she's like locked in this room when she's a kid and she almost like dies of starvation. And then like one of the yokai come and like give her food. So like maybe she's not an orphan, but she just doesn't see her parents. I'm not really sure. So she's alone in the world. She can see yokai, and basically like it kind of shows her day-to-day life of like walking around and seeing them and like being like you have to ignore them because some of them can be trouble and you don't want to have trouble. She meets one on the road and she's like, listen, and he's like saying he's hungry and she's like, listen, here, have my lunch so that you don't eat someone. And she like gives him her bento. And then like later in the episode, she goes back to her house and like is somehow transported into this inn. And basically the main love interest of the show, and his name is Odana, basically tells her that her grandfather, who's the one who raised her after her parents, I guess, lost custody of her, like her grandfather used to be his friend, Odana's friend, because like I guess yokai live for fucking ever. And like he racked up a big tab at his bar and inn, and like he died. So like now she has to marry him in order to pay off the debt. And she's like, well, fuck that though. Like instead of that, I'm just gonna work at your inn, and so I don't have to marry you. And he's like kind of offended by this. And he's like, well, but you can't work at this inn because you're just a human girl and like you can't do shit. Which, I mean, whatever. And so then she goes to this like little hut at the edge of the inn, and there's like this kind of like nine-tailed fox dude who like first appears as a kid and then he appears as like an adult later. He has like different forms. And he basically ran this tiny little restaurant at the very edge of the inn for a while, and he's about to shut it down, but he's like, maybe you should work with me, and like, because she's really good at cooking, and he's like, maybe you could cook like in this restaurant and we could make a go of it and I wouldn't have to shut it down. So that's the first episode. Episode 2 is much better in my opinion.
Okay.
So the first episode, I was kind of like, oh, this might be just terrible. The second episode, like, it's a decent, if cliche, reverse harem. So, like, basically, Aoi makes a bunch of food in the tiny inn because she's nervous, and that's what she does when she's nervous. She thinks about her grandfather and how he's kind of like a trickster character, and he went around kind of scamming people, but was also really fun and loving and, like, really fun to be around. Aoi obviously really cared a lot about him and regrets, like, that he died. But it's also clear she's conflicted because she like really loved him, but he also fucked her over big time and like basically used her as collateral for his debt. So like there's a lot of stuff going on there. So there's a lot of commotion like in the middle of her cooking, and Aoi runs over to see a group of tengu, which are like those crow demon things.
Yeah.
Physically fighting with the inn staff about how the food is boring. I guess they like stay there so much and they're just tired of the same food. I don't know. So she's just watching and they're like throwing shit at each other. And of course, Odana is just like letting everyone in the inn be an absolute dick to her. And he's like an asshole to her himself. So Aoi like runs back to the hut because she's like, oh, people are yelling at me and it's terrible. And later on that night, a tengu falls from the sky and Aoi like takes it into the hut and gives him water because he's kind of drunk. So then she also gives him food, and he says it's good, and he leaves. And then the next day he comes back, and he's like, oh, I'm the leader of all the tengu, but I'm going to give you this like really expensive fan and talk about how what you did actually helped the inn a lot, and like, I really like you. Because apparently like he fell off his like boat thing in the sky last night, and like the inn was going to have to be liable for it. And like they were about to be sued, or like they were about to get in trouble basically. And then she found him and like smoothed things over by giving him the food. So like it all worked out.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So then he's like, I actually knew your grandfather too, and I really like you. So like if you want to marry one of my sons instead and like move in with me, and like then I'll just pay off your debt and it'll be fine. And Odana doesn't like this at all, and he's like, ugh. And she declines because she's like, no, I don't really want to marry anyone. I just want to work off the debt. And then also at the end of this episode, the fox looks really nervous. So he's definitely like angling for some shit too. Like every dude in this kingdom apparently wants to marry this bitch. So like, I don't know. So now like at the end of the second episode, she's got the restaurant. She's going to be like working at the restaurant to pay off her debt basically. It is stereotypical. But it is a decently done reverse harem. If you like it, then you might want to check it out. It is 26 episodes. Who knows if it'll get worse or better halfway through. We'll have to see.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I was surprised because usually those reverse harem shows don't get 26 episodes.
Yeah.
So are you saying you enjoy it, or you're just kind of meh?
Okay, so I enjoy it, but I've also watched a lot of reverse harem. So like I know the limits of this kind of show. I like these kind of shows, but I also know that they are not amazing. They are just okay, right? It's kind of one of those things where, is this your kind of trash? Do you like this kind of trash? Then you will like this.
Basically, yeah.
All right, you heard it here. Kat said if this is your kind of trash, you're going to like it. Mm-hmm. So, next show is Space Battleship Tiramisu. It's a short, 7-minute short. The episode 1 title is Flying in Space / Naked.
That's a pretty accurate title.
That's basically just describes the episode. So the first part, Subaru tries to eat, what is it? It's something in cabbage, but it's like coated and fried.
It's like croquettes or like
Wasn't
something
it like
fried.
a shrimp thing? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, it might have been tempura shrimp.
He tries to eat this in zero gravity. It goes about as well as you would guess. The cabbage is going everywhere. He can't, for whatever reason, I forget, but he tries to thread the meat, the breaded meat, through like a bottle that like shreds
there is sauce
off.
in this bottle, like water bottle. I'm guessing because he can't like have a sauce dish in like zero gravity.
Obviously, yes.
So he's like, oh, let me stick this like giant like stick of whatever shrimp in this. Like it's not gonna fit. Obviously,
in a water bottle.
Even think this through. He just like sticks it in there, and of course, it just flies everywhere, like in zero gravity.
And he's so completely in love with his cockpit, and because it's the only place he can have any peace, I guess. So yeah, the second part. He's having trouble breathing during his fight, and he can't figure it out. But then he notices his shirt is on backwards. And not only that, inside out.
Oh my god.
It's fucking wrecking him mentally. He can't take it, so he ends up trying to take it off, but it gets stuck on his helmet.
He just rips everything off. Yeah.
He just rips everything off. He's completely naked and finishes the battle. This show is fucking outrageous and hilarious.
No, okay.
And, oh god,
the
so many
first
boy butts.
Fucking
Good
episode.
God.
I was laughing so hard, and I could not, like, I was just grinning and, like, with my mouth open the entire 7 minutes of the first episode, and, like, I was just shrieking. So, like, everything that would happen, I'd just be like, oh my god! And then something else would happen. I'd just be like, oh my god! And I, like, had my mouth open for so long, like, I started drooling a little bit. This is fucking hilarious.
This show really nails it with the humor. Like, it is such a good parody of those crazy mech shows with like the ace pilot. It's just so good to see that, like, the juxtaposition of like, what if like Amuro from Gundam like just really wanted to eat food in his cockpit and he was a fucking idiot,
or he just realized he had his uniform inside out and backwards. You know, he's just like, I gotta fix this shit. It's gonna drive me insane.
All right, so what happens in episode 2? I'm trying to remember. I've watched this episode, but...
Okay, so the second episode, Subaru brings this cute dog from space, like, in with him, and he calls it, like, Bitsy or some shit, and it's, like, a space chihuahua. And apparently they grow, like, really fucking fast when they're exposed to oxygen. And, like, it fucking does. Like, every time the camera looks away from the dog for even, like, a split second, it, like, looks back, and then the dog has doubled in size. Like, and so the dog goes from being, like, as big as, like, a couple of his fingers to, like, being, like, huge and, like, double his size. Like, by the time he gets it back to the Gundam, because, like, he asked the captain if he can keep it, and the captain's like, absolutely not. Like, how dare you bring it in here? Like, don't you know what will happen? And, like, as he's bringing it back with him to the Gundam, he's like, I can hide it in my cockpit. It'll be fine. And then, but by the time he gets back to the Gundam, the dog is, like, double his size. Like I said, he can't fucking fit in the cockpit anymore. So he has to go to space and dump the dog, and then there's this dramatic scene where he has to, like, abandon this monster dog, and the dog's like, ruff, 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 and he's like, no, I have to leave you.
Oh, shit.
So then there's the second part of the episode is the mechanic engineer who is in charge of his Gundam bugs him because she acts just like an over-attentive mom who, like, gets into all your shit, you know? It just bugs you all the time. And in a passing comment, Subaru admits to her that his mom died in the war and she feels really bad for him. So then she, like, decorates his entire fucking cockpit and, like, cleans it and then writes his name, like, on his helmet and organizes all his shit in his cockpit. And like he realizes this while he's like about to do something important, like on a mission, and it freaks him out so much that he like misses his important shot and like just fucks it up and is like, I hate her now. Like I never talk to her again.
Oh God.
And then every episode it starts out with him just like saying this little phrase. He's like, I love my cockpit. It is my sanctuary. Like that's what he says every fucking episode. It's funny.
Yeah, if you want a funny short, this is definitely the funniest of the season.
The only thing is, like, it's funny
I think so.
that it'll make you smile like so much that your mouth hurts. So just be aware.
Guard your mouth.
Yeah, and it's definitely pandering to the female community for sure.
But not like overly, like. Just a little. Yeah, no.
A little bit, yeah, for sure. It's there, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody can enjoy this show though, because it's just so funny.
It's
all right.
So this next show, 3D Kanojo, Real Girl. This show is terrible. Like I don't even have very organized notes.
Let's not talk a lot about this.
Yeah, I don't have very organized notes about this. It was just basically like a guy who is like an otaku or whatever, or like a nerd at his school, runs into this manic pixie dream girl who is like perfect for him, and for some reason really likes him. That is like
dream come true.
Yeah, just dream come true. But she's like apparently a huge slut who is also kind of like autistic, I would have to say. Like she doesn't really like understand social interactions very well.
No, I think she doesn't just give a shit.
Either that or it's that. It's kind of like a mix.
She's kind of checked out because like there's all these scenes where like a guy will try to corner her and like I guess kind of gonna rape her in a way, and she just seems to be checked out and just like, well, I guess like I'm just gonna go with whatever because I can't be bothered. And I don't know, it was interesting in some ways because I've never really seen a slut character like this in an anime. But it just seems like she's kind of fucked up. Like, yeah,
I would just say it's a very, as I saw somebody say it somewhere, a paint by the numbers show. Like, this is like every dude's fucking fantasy. The hot slut girl just likes you for
it's like
whatever freaking reason, and you can't do any wrong.
Everything goes too fast, and like it's obviously not genuine. Because like if it was genuine, it wouldn't go like this. You're exactly right, Leo. Like it's it's not.
Yeah,
good.
It just feels like even if she is a troubled person, it's not being handled with like any sincerity or like gentleness whatsoever.
Well, yeah, it feels like the only reason they made her a fucked up slut character is because then obviously like she'll have sex with him.
Yeah,
basically, like I said, it's just every otaku's wet dream, and that's all I could write as a synopsis. So then like even I had to watch episode 2. I wanted to know if it would change, get any better, and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And then from the female's perspective, I'm like, why does she even give it 2 shits about this guy?
I think she's just kind of clinging to people because she wants someone to give a shit about her. Like, I really don't think she even cares about him. She's just clinging to people.
I think she just doesn't care because, like, it's heavily hinted in the second episode that she might have like a terminal disease or something. So maybe that's why she just doesn't give a shit about anything and just is doing whatever she wants. I don't know, but
yeah.
Maybe it's not that. I don't know. Like maybe I glossed over something, but she was like spending time in a hospital and she knows this doctor. And like the guy gets really jealous of this doctor because he thinks that like, oh, she must be dating you.
Dating. Yeah.
He's just like the most jealous. Like he's extremely paranoid about everything going on with this girl and just to believe she's too good to be true because she is also. But he doesn't like, I don't know. He doesn't deserve this girl, even as messed up as she is. It's weird. And also, Crunchyroll has decided that Leo does not deserve to see boobs.
Yeah.
Yes. High School DxD. I have actually not even watched an episode yet because
the community is outraged over this too.
Yeah, you gotta wait for this come out in Blu-ray or DVD or whatever.
Well, no, rightfully so though, because like, why the fuck are we watching this if not for boobs? Come on.
at this point, like in season 1, I was like, oh, this story is kind of fun. I kind of like these characters too. I watched a little bit of season 2 and I was like, there's a lot more fan service now and a lot less character. So I assume that it's kind of like gone that way. I could be wrong because I'm not caught up.
It's definitely gone that way.
So then at that point, it's like, then why am I watching this if it's not uncensored? Like, it's just no point. I don't know. Kat, you watched episode 2 of this at least. What did you think?
So like this arc is kind of like the Kyoto arc or whatever. So the first 2 episodes, like we find out they're going to Kyoto for this mission. I guess I'll just do episode 2 because like
go for it.
It's already long enough that we need to spend on this. So like Issei is on the train to Kyoto. He's still trying to fool around with that inner room where like all the former Red Dragon people are. He's like given a box by one of them to open with that key that he got from before, and he opens it and then something escapes, but he doesn't know what it is. And like apparently whatever that something is now causing random people around him to like go boob crazy and grope people. So like every once in a while throughout, like someone will just go crazy like on the train next to him or something and just start like groping someone else.
God damn it.
And then everything.
Dude, Amazon should have picked this up. That way it wouldn't have been censored.
Yeah, everything
Amazon
is
should have
censored.
picked anything up.
Even the porn covers are censored.
True.
There is this hilarious scene in the second episode where like one of his pervy guy friends grabs the other one and like gropes his like manly chest because he's like gone boob crazy, and like the other boy is like no, and like it's almost like a yaoi moment. It's funny. Everything is censored, like I said, even the porn covers. It's really irritating. They arrive at the hotel. They go sightseeing. Issei gets attacked by a fox girl who's angry because her mom has disappeared. You don't really know much about it at that point. Then they go back to the inn. Ross Wise prevents him from peeking on the girls in the bath. So Issei like dress breaks her. And like you get to see her like whole naked body, which, okay, you can find this uncensored. You just have to pirate it. It's irritating and it's kind of difficult. You have to like look for each episode individually, but you can do it. And I recommend y'all do that. All right.
Oh, wow.
You get a quick scene of Akeno and Rias groping each other, like groping their boobs in the bath. Then you learn the fox girl is probably related to the leader of the Kyoto yokai, who like they have negotiations going on right now. And the leader went missing. And that's the end of the second episode. So the animation for the naked shots is still really good, but like some of the animation has dropped in quality. It's got good shots, but it's also got really mediocre, like especially in between shots, where there are some shows that are just like okay this season that are better animated than this in some sections.
Yeah,
which disappointed me. Yeah, because I'm kind of like, come on. And that combined with the censoring angers me greatly, because I'm like, this is a popular show. You have a large audience of people who want to watch this shit, like, and you're not servicing them. Like, all they ask from you is to give them their boobs and like not fuck up the animation. And like you didn't do either of those things.
True. How is the boob jiggle though? Is that animated well?
Yes, that is animated very well.
Okay. Well, that was the important part. So
that's their bread and butter. So
yeah. I'll honestly probably, since I do own the first 2 seasons on Blu-ray, I will probably go ahead and get this on Blu-ray when it comes out and then watch it.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
I mean, that's what they want you to do. That's why they are censoring it. So you buy the Blu-ray.
But people don't do that shit anymore. People don't want to buy the Blu-ray. They want to stream it. And if they're not gonna cater their audience, they're gonna lose a shit ton of their people. And it serves them right.
Agree.
It serves them right.
If they see the numbers go that way, then you will see a change in this in the future.
Yeah, so pirate it. Don't watch it on streaming sites. Don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you pay for a Crunchyroll account and you're getting the censored version, I would not feel terrible about pirating the uncensored version. Yeah,
pirate it so that they know that you're not going to take that bullshit. Because we want our boobs, damn it. That's what we watched this for. That's what we've watched.
Glorious high quality
for.
streaming.
You know who else wants boobs? The entire cast of Lupin III, Part 5. And this time around, they're looking for French boobs. This was by far one of the best premieres of the season for me. Like I said before in the preview cast, like I don't have a ton of experience with Lupin. I watched like a little bit of Part 4 and like some of the movies and stuff, but like I was determined to finally get into it. And the first episode of this show like really blew me away. I love the OP. It has this French aesthetic. And like so does the ED. Like the whole thing is set in France. I love like the mid card of the episode where it's just like a girl in a really seductive voice saying like Lupin III. It's just like super fucking awesome. The whole soundtrack is great and like jazzy. And especially in the first episode, I thought that the animation was like absolutely gorgeous for a TV anime. And I've been told that's like the norm for Lupin, but I guess I've just been missing out. And yeah, like basically the story this time around that like Lupin and gang get caught up in this thing where they meet this girl Ami, who is sort of like a hacker, and she's being like held captive by this like organization, and so they save her basically. But then the people who are after Lupin start this online game called the Lupin Gang, which is basically a social media like treasure hunt or scavenger hunt for everybody in the world on Twitter and on Facebook and everywhere to like track down Lupin so they can finally all catch like this like, you know, ultimate thief. So basically Lupin is like competing against the social media sphere. It's kind of hilarious. And it kind of comes up in the second episode too, because like there's funny things like Lupin's looking at like online, and you know his long-term friend Jigen, he's like, oh, by the way, Jigen, these fangirls are like shipping us together. Like they really want us to be together, and Jigen's like, no, what the fuck?
They took it like modern, which I really liked.
Yeah. I had like some issues with like the main girl Ami, like because she's sort of like this, I don't know, like spaced out, like little girl, but not little, but like young teenage girl who you first meet in like her underwear. And she's, I don't know, she's not the greatest character. She's a bit of a damsel. So like parts of her character worry me for like where the show is going to go. Though in episode 2, like she and Lupin have like a conversation because she doesn't really understand why Lupin is like still protecting her after the first episode, and Lupin doesn't quite understand either. And he's like, "Oh, it would be really cool. It wouldn't be cool if I had to explain." And she's just like, "Do you want to have sex with me?" And he's like, "No, that's not it. I swear that's not it." So he kind of explains that like, oh, he wants to protect her because of like, you know, he just wants to take care of the things that he's like stolen, essentially, or whatever.
So you'll find out that most of the girl characters in Lupin are always kind of damsels, but like the overall quality of the show and the funness of it kind of makes up for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this show is really fun. I will say the second episode, I did see like a dip in animation quality, which I guess I should have expected, because like I really think that first episode was like spectacular animation wise and just like cinematography wise. So it's still good, like it's still fine, but I just saw there were some like in between shots, like Kat was talking about with other shows, that were less than stellar, a little bit lazier, but still, I really like this show. I think it's one of the best of the season. Don't feel like you need to understand Lupin to just like jump into this. Like you can totally jump right in. I think it's really good. So yeah.
Yeah, you guys, if you haven't watched any Lupin and you're listening to this, like at least give it an episode or two. Come on. You can do it. I have faith in you.
All right, if you insist.
All right, there you go.
What else you should give an episode of is Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Die Neue, what's the German pronunciation? Die Neue These, I think is what it's called. Like the new thesis.
Bungled it there.
Yeah, it was terrible. So after episode 1, I was a little bit worried about the show because, okay, I've watched the first 26 episodes of the original and the movie and everything. And so I had very high expectations going into this. I wanted to see if it was going to live up to the original. And episode 1, they changed some things around. Like they focus on the same battle, the Battle of Astarte that starts off like the first season. But they show it entirely from Reinhardt's point of view. the entire episode. There's nothing about Yang Wen-li or like Jessica Edwards' husband, anything like that. They leave all of that for episode 2, and then they go back and show the entire battle from Yang Wen-li's perspective. And it actually worked out really well in the end, I thought, those first 2 episodes as a whole, because they were able to show like a lot of things that they did in the first season, but like in sort of greater detail. I think that the technical like animation, like the CGI of the ships is really great, and it adds a lot to the show, like to the feeling of like excitement in the show. Because like one of the main criticisms with Legend of Galactic Heroes is like, oh, it's just like military maneuvers in space. It's kind of guys just talking. And it does get way more interesting, both in the original and in this one, after like the first 2 episodes. Like, not that the first 2 episodes are super boring, but like for some people, they're just going to see like, oh, it's military maneuvering. I'm not into this. Definitely stick around, because like it gets into really interesting political struggles after those first couple. I do still think like the character animation is a little stiff at times, and I still do dislike the Kuroko no Basuke character designs from Production IG. But like I'm willing to let it slide, because like 3 episodes in that I've watched, like I think they're doing a really good job of readapting this show, and it is like one of the better shows I've ever seen, the original. So I'm just like really excited week to week to watch this now, because like I thought this could have been like a total mess, but it's definitely not. They're definitely treating it like with the appropriate care that it deserves to be treated with. And yeah, any of you guys watch this, have any thoughts on it yet?
Sorry, I haven't seen it.
It's okay. Definitely good. I like it. It's doing well so far. Like I said, I'm still just suspicious of it, and it has to earn my trust.
Yeah.
But it is doing well so far. You're right. It's standing up to the original.
Yeah. There's not much else to say about it. Like, yeah, if you're not willing to give this a chance, like give the original a chance, because that one really is good, and it still does stand up a lot. So yeah. But either way, watch some of this. So anyway, all right, moving on to the next show, Yotsuiro. Oh God, I can't speak today. Yotsuiro Biyori.
It's kind of hard to say, to be honest. Yotsuiro Biyori, because I have trouble saying it sometimes. Yeah. Okay, this show is awesome. So it's about 4 guys. This is like the food show of the season. And I mean, there is Shokugeki no Soma, which is like its own thing kind of, but like this is the standalone food show of the season. I totally
agree. Yeah, in some ways this does things that Shokugeki does not do, and I think it's really comfortable. It's like an iyashike in some ways. It's really nice.
It has this really...
even more than isekai izakaya.
Well, I didn't watch that, unfortunately, because I looked at it and I was like, this is the exact same show as Restaurant to Another World.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you watched Restaurant to Another World?
I've watched all of it, and I think that watching Restaurant to Another World gave me PTSD. And when I saw that it was the exact same, I was like, I can't do it, because like that was not good.
Yeah, we also reviewed, just before you came on, we did review that entire season of that show. And if that is your thing, that's cool. And I think it'd be fine if I didn't have anything else to watch and I just needed something going on in the background.
Yeah,
this would be great. I could just totally glance at it. But
are you talking about Restaurant, or are you talking about Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so Yotsuiro Biyori is more of like a isekai mixed with like a iyashike. Is that how you say it? I don't know.
Yeah, like a relaxing show.
It's almost like an iyashike mix with a food show. Like there's a lot of just showing like these really elegant meals laid out. And just a really calming atmosphere, which I really, really like. Like watching this after you get home from work and you've been stressed all day is amazing. It just like calms you right down. It's like really nice. It's a great show to watch. So there's 4 of them, and they run this tea shop together. One of them, Kyose, is a tea expert. One of them, and it's like, I guess he's called Valentino.
They call him Gure a lot.
Gure, yeah, like is a coffee expert, and he makes lattes, and he also like says Italian sounding things all the time, like "Mamma mia," shit like that. One of them, Nikao, is the sweet chef, and he's like the red-haired guy, and he's kind of my favorite right now.
I actually really like him too. I like his personality a lot, and like the pride he takes in making his food and stuff.
He's really fun. He's kind of got like that temper, but like he's also, I don't know, he's fun. And then Tokitaka, I can't hardly say his name. He's the one with the long hair, and he makes the food. And the anime itself, like I said, is just a slice of calmness and happiness. It does have this pretty elegant boys thing going for it, but like the main draw is the food in this show. So like in the first episode, you see this girl and she's like really stressed out, and I guess she works kind of like on the go. And so she is about to go to her regular place that she goes to work, and she sees this place and she's like, oh, I'll try it. So she's kind of parked there all day working on her laptop. And you see like them bring out all these dishes while she's there working throughout the day. And like first you see this like matcha parfait brought out with like all these toppings on it, and like a sweet dumpling set on the side, like that Nikao has made. And like you see Val make this like foamy latte with like this like latte art on top. And then
he's really bad at the latte art though.
Yeah.
He tries to draw like a bunny for the woman who the perspective of the episode is from, and it like melts away and it's kind of horrifying.
Yeah.
But
And
the
then,
coffee
like,
itself tastes really good, which saves it.
Yeah. And then at like the very end of the night, she gets kind of hungry, and she finally like gives in and like gets some food. And Tokikata like brings her out this ridiculously yummy looking like dinner bowl. And it's got like salmon and salmon roe on top of a bed of rice with like fresh greens on top and chopped bamboo. And it's like served with this like wooden kettle of dashi broth on the side that you like pour over it before you eat it. And it just looks so damn good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's got like a really fresh feeling to it. It's not quite like any other food anime I've seen. It's a lot more relaxing than most food anime are.
Yeah.
All I know is I'm in love with it, and like I'm definitely going to be continue watching this.
Yeah, and I felt the same about the second episode. Watched that as well, and that kind of focuses on like how the guys at the Rokuhodo Cafe are like looking for a new tea supplier, because like the one that they were using is I think going out of business. And they have a very high standard for like the loose leaf tea that they use. Like there, it comes up in the episode that like some like other cafes are just switching to tea bags because it's like cheaper and easier, but they don't want to do that because they know there's like a difference in like the quality. So this schoolgirl she actually appears in the first episode, and she's kind of looks like she's looking at the cafe, but she's too scared to go in. In the second episode, she finally like works up like I don't know, like the courage to go into the cafe. She's just really nervous about everything, and she goes in, and it takes her like literally 30 minutes of staring at the menu to decide what to order, and then she gets like this like big like matcha plate, and it looks delicious and everything. But when she's like leaving, she talks to the main host, Kyosui, about the tea, and they noticed that when she was sipping the tea, she was making these weird faces, and she likes the tea, but she realizes it's from like another tea supplier. It's not from her grandfather's tea shop, and she's like really used to his tea, and like she's learned a lot about tea growing up because of him, and like has made her own blends of tea and all this stuff. So of course Kyosui is like really interested in this, and he asks if he can like walk her home because it's getting late and it's like a little dangerous to walk home for like a schoolgirl. So when he like walks with her, he's on his way to go to this tea shop that he was going to search out and see if like it was good enough for to be his new supplier. And it turns out, of course, it's her grandfather's tea shop. But her grandfather's really funny. He's like in the middle of like talking with his wife about how he wants to like quit because like all these people are switching the tea bags and nobody like really cares about real tea anymore. And so Kyosui makes him like a promise, like, hey, if I'll invite you to my cafe, and if you really like the environment of my cafe, if you're won over it by it, then like I'll win, and like I'll use your tea maybe or something. Or basically, doesn't really make a real bet. The other side of the bet is like, if I'm like completely won over by your tea, then you win, and you can do whatever you want at that point. So yeah, he comes to the cafe. He like the redhead Nakao like makes some of his like tea leaves into like a chiffon cake, and it's really good. It really accentuates the taste of the tea. And then like Kyosui like serves the tea, and it's really good, and he sees that the whole atmosphere of the cafe is great. And so like they decide like, okay, this is a good deal, we can work together. And it was just like a really like emotionally uplifting moment when Hyosui is like, I saw your granddaughter come in here, and like her passion for tea is like really what really sold me on your shop, and like the whole atmosphere of like how much you care about it. So yeah, I really liked the second episode too. It just continues to be good.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys have a total of 1 paragraph in the Google Doc, and you just talked for like ever about this show.
Well, it's a good show.
Get it.
It's a damn
I get it.
good
You guys
show.
love it.
You need to watch it, Leo.
You know what I really don't have to talk long about is Tachibanakan Triangle.
Yeah, I've watched this one too.
Yeah.
I thought it would be like a fun trash watch.
Yeah, me too.
It's not even that.
It's not even that. Yeah. So this is one of those 3-minute, 30-second shows that I just don't see the point in. Like basically what this is, it's basically a harem show, except like the typical male character is just a female character, but all of the girls just act like the same way that they would towards like a guy. Like, so it's just like a lesbian harem show, but it's just, it's too short, and it doesn't get to explore any of the characters in a way that makes them interesting. So it's just like a bunch of shit and like gets thrown at the screen, like a bunch of fan service gets thrown at the screen, and it's just not worth watching because like there's no reason to be invested in it. Like the fan service isn't even all that good. I guess there's like some good like boob shots of like one girl, but like besides
and then
that,
one girl's like, "Oh, I forgot to put my panties on."
Yeah, I forgot to wear clothes today. And like one of the girls is like her childhood friend, and she's like a lolly, and like she's like really like possessive of her and stuff, and like I don't know, it's just like a little harem. It is, but it's not an interesting harem, and it's only 3 minutes long, so it doesn't have any time to become interesting. So,
no, yeah. Move on.
Moving
Next
on.
show.
Gundam Build Divers.
Okay, so Gundam Build Divers is an anime for children, for young children. It's just a commercial in disguise as a show, mostly. Like, I don't know if you've seen shows like this. I did not when I was growing up, but like half the show is just them like showing model kits that you can buy and being like, look how cool it is. You can buy this at the store. Like, if you are a super fan of Gundam, you're like probably already watching this and you don't. Like, I don't want to offend you. Like, I understand watching some bullshit for a franchise that you're really invested in. We've all done it at one point or another, but you have to admit this is a little bit bullshit. If you are on the fence at all about watching it, it's definitely not for you. Trust me, I made that mistake for you. If you're on the fence, if you're not a Super Gundam fan, it's not for you. Okay?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yep.
All right, that one was quick. Let's move on to Wednesdays and Butlers Cross Battlers, or Butlers X Battlers, or whatever, which is on Crunchyroll. Kat, I think you're the only one who watched this.
So I wanted this
Obviously.
show to be pretty butler boys doing like cute things. Like I like all the Butler shows I've seen. I think we all know what I'm talking about. It's not that. It's not an encore at all. They're not even that hot. First, there are too many damn fucking characters. There's no way you can keep track of all the characters in the show. Okay,
really?
So like I've seen some shows that have a shit ton of characters like Token Rambu, and it's worked because like you didn't have to keep track of all the characters. All they're there for is eye candy, so you can just forget about them. Like you don't have to remember them. But like in this story, you actually do have to remember all these characters because there's actual plot happening. So like there's no way you can keep up with all these characters from week to week. Second, the plot like isn't well explained from the first few episodes. It seems like the main character has some weird shit going on with his sister. Like he seems to kind of be in love with her. Like I know it's supposed to be like, oh, I care about her because she's my sister, but like also it's kind of weird. And also like she's either dead or missing. There's like some magical shit going on, but it's not well explained yet. All in all, there's like so many better pretty boy shows this season to watch. Like don't bother with this. It's some bullshit. You don't need to watch this show.
Watch Yotsuiro Biyori instead.
Or if you really have to watch a reverse harem like or something, watch that Kakuriyo anime or something.
Yeah.
You got options, girl. You don't need to watch this.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on. Steins Gate Zero is back on Crunchyroll. So yeah, like I think I said in the preview, I rewatched like all of Steins Gate in preparation for this follow-up coming out. And I also highly recommend that if you can hunt it down, you should check out the Steins Gate episode 23 beta. It's like an episode that they put out when the Steins Gate Zero visual novel launched.
You can
and it gives you like
it. It's available.
Yeah, basically that's the way to watch it, honestly.
Yeah.
It gives you a much better primer for the events that led into this alternate world line where Steins Gate Zero takes place. Basically, in this continuity, Okabe Rintaro, he's like so discouraged by his repeated attempts to like save Mayushi, right, that he couldn't bring himself to go back in time to try to save Kurisu again. Once he realized that like when he went back once, he is the one who actually killed her in the first place. And in the first show, he goes back and is able to fix that mistake. But in this show, they're basically playing into the timeline where he's just too depressed and he's just done at this point. Like, he's too psychologically destroyed by the fact that, like, no matter what he does, somebody dies. He decides to just leave the past in the past. And try to let go of Kurisu. So he goes to college and he even starts to like make some friends and go to like mixers and stuff. And he spends less and less time at his like research lab with all of his goofy friends.
I have a hard time imagining him at a mixer.
I know, right? It's funny. He like wears different clothes. He has like a black like shirt on with like a black tie usually now.
Like he
doesn't wear his like lab
like
coat.
He was in the original series.
Like, if he wasn't in a lab coat, I wouldn't recognize the dude.
He's very down to earth, right? Mm-hmm. And like reserved now. So he basically that all changes because like this lolly scientist comes into his life at a conference. She's definitely a lolly. No. She's like supposed to
red
be
flags.
Like older.
Red flags.
It's bad. It's like she gets all angry because she's like, "You're the fourth person to tell me that like this isn't for grade schoolers, and I'm not a grade schooler."
Yeah.
Like, all right, bitch. Like, you have to admit that you look like a grade schooler. So like, don't be a shithead to people.
Her name is Mahou Shoujo.
Okay.
And she's a scientist. There's even like a joke when she's introduced that Rintaro's like, oh my god, if Daru was here, he would be like, hell yes, best of both worlds, like legal lolly. Like, it's so ridiculous. So I will say like right away, like I think her character is saved by her personality, which is really fun. She's not like just a typical like lolly personality, but there is that element. If you don't like lollies in anime, you might be put off by this. She's been working on a project called Amadeus, like Mozart, which has the goal of implanting human memories into an AI interface to basically preserve a person's mind as it was at the point in time that it was downloaded into the AI.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I can see where this is going.
Exactly. It can then stick around and interact with people, even like learning new things from that point on. And it's basically like talking to that version of that person when they downloaded their mind. So this gets really interesting, of course, when we find out that one of the researchers who had worked on this project in its early stages was Makise Kurisu. And this is, of course, like extremely unsettling to Okabe. So Okabe meets with Mahou after the conference and lets it slip to her that he knew Kurisu, and that's why he's so interested. And she and this American scientist who's running the project with Mahou, his name is Alexis Leskinen, invite Okabe to come back to their lab in Japan and make contact with Kurisu. This basically happens in episode 2. So he finds that he can like really talk to her in a way that he didn't expect. And he finds himself like asking her like, hey, do you think like a time machine is something that would be possible? And she says like the same things that she would have said to him, but slightly different. Like at the time when he first met her in real life in the other timeline. In this timeline, he's never met her. She's never met him. And neither has this downloaded AI ever met him. So yeah, he finds himself falling back into some of his old like banter, like calling her Christina and stuff by accident. And they're like, well, you're talking to her like you really know her. And he's just like, oh, just ignore it. Just ignore it. But yeah, like basically she can now talk to him like over like a cell phone. So like, she can call him anytime. And like they basically ask him like if he can come back and check in with them every month and just report in on his like observations of the experiment. But yeah, this is obviously really hard on him because he's trying to put Kurisu behind him, but now she is like in his life as this AI, and it's really interesting. So yeah, I think this show has a lot of potential. I was wondering after the first episode how they were going to make these same characters interesting for like another 23 episodes. But after episode 2, it really sold me on like the potential of like the psychological quandary and the philosophical questions of like downloading a person's mind into an AI. Like, is it really a person? Does that AI person have rights? Does this like dishonor the person's memory that you're like talking to them even after they're dead? And like, how is Okabe just going to resolve all of his feelings?
I feel like
about
that's
this?
almost, when you're talking about the AI stuff, that's almost a whole nother subject topic. So,
well, but it is consistent with like the semicolon series as a whole, though. Like the idea of AI is like, so it's definitely not out of character for these kind of series, which are all sort of related.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, I also want to know like, how will AI Kurisu react when he eventually lets it slip how well he knew the other version of her, and maybe that he didn't go back to save her. I really want to know if that's going to happen. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but I think there's a lot of interesting questions this show can ask and go into. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
the only AI you should be concerned about is Kizunai, our new master.
Got to.
That happened before long.
The ambassador.
That's all I got to say.
Anyway, it's one of my favorites of the season right now, for sure.
It's pretty good.
Yay for you.
Yeah.
All right, who has Tokyo Ghoul?
All right. I will do it. Okay. So it's on Hulu, which kind of sucks because I feel like everyone dropped it because it's on Hulu. It's still Tokyo Ghoul and it's still awesome. The show this season is a little less edgy than like the previous seasons because it's focusing on the doves and the police instead of the like other side like it did before.
Yeah.
You are the only positive I've seen so far.
Oh, really? I've seen some positives.
I think it's good.
Much bad stuff
well,
about it.
Well, it's because everyone fucking hates Tokyo Ghoul. And they're like, let's shit on it. Like, okay, it's a good... It's not the best show ever, but it's a good damn show, okay?
Yeah.
There's a lot of politics within this big secret police organization. And you kind of get to see, like, some of the politics between the different, like, ranks and stuff go down. A lot of interesting cases that you get to see like explored because they're the police. And then also Kaneki this time is different. Like he's more laid back and kind of grown up a little bit. Like, but you kind of see his old self like peek out sometimes too. Like from behind the curtain. It's kind of interesting. I'll definitely be watching it. Kaneki, who's now called Hase, I can't really pronounce his name very well, is head of the King Squad, a group of doves who like use ghoul powers, but they distinguish themselves as like more human, like they're mostly human. And he has 4 underlings working under him, like one wimpy dude, like he can't even see blood without being like, oh, I can't do it, no, like named Toru, and he's annoying. And then there's a girl we haven't met yet, but like she's in the intro and outro. There's a gangster looking dude called Genshi. And then there's this really ambitious dude called Kuki, like that really gets on my nerves. And he's just always trying to figure out how to like outsmart Hase and like get the credit for himself so he can get promoted out from under him. I really enjoy it. I think it's still really good. I've never been one to say that Tokyo Ghoul is like the most amazing series of all time, but I really enjoy it. And I think people shit on it because it's got popular anime disease. So like sometimes when a show has been popular for a season or 2, then all of a sudden the community turns against it and decides that like now it's not cool to like it. Like this happened to Attack on Titan. It's happened to like Sword Art Online. It's going to happen to My Hero Academia eventually. Like it just does.
Probably, yes.
For some reason. It's almost like hipster disease. It's like, it's too popular. It's not cool to like it anymore. And then it gets shit on, you know? And I'm not saying those really popular shows are always the best shows. In fact, usually they're not, but they're also not terrible shows. So I like it and I'll continue to watch it. And I really think you guys should too. If you've seen the first 2 seasons and you like them, then you probably like this. You should probably at least check it out.
Yeah.
As we found out previously, I had watched the entire season and then forgot I did. So yeah.
All right.
I don't know.
Next show is Last Period, Owarinaki Rasen no Monogatari. And did anybody watch the show besides me, by the way?
No.
So This show is really entertaining. I think Leo especially would really like this. This is basically Konosuba in a lot of ways.
What?
Yeah.
Why is this not on my radar then?
Because you don't watch
It's a childish show, isn't it? It looks like a kiddie show.
No, it's not. It's really not. Surprisingly, it's hilarious. It's basically...
Oh, yeah, it looks really kiddie.
Yeah, it's not at all. It's a parody of gacha games, and basically like a parody of anime about like isekai game worlds, where it's like a group of kids. Which
is what Konosuba is.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
Holy shit.
But so basically, like all the jokes like really hit in this show. All of like the poking fun that they make at like gacha game like bullshit and like anime game bullshit. I love the character designs of all the characters in this show. They're really good. But basically, like the plot is sort of that they are these things called periods, and they have to go out and like hunt these monsters for their guild, basically. But their guild went bankrupt, so now they're trying to like resurrect their guild. Basically, the people who run their guild are kind of sketchy and hilarious. And yeah, they run into this like other team of periods who are basically like the Team Rocket of this anime.
Wow.
And it's funny because like the ending of the anime is based on this Team Rocket team, and the whole ED is dedicated to them, and it's just them singing their like little theme song, which is really funny. Yeah, I don't know. Like I only watched 2 episodes of this, but I really enjoyed both of them. I think it's one of the better like comedy anime of the season, especially if you're just fed up with like gacha game bullshit like Fate Grand Order and just like pulling on shit and getting terrible pulls. Like, you know, Leo, you've played a bunch of Fire Emblem Heroes, like just pulling and getting absolute garbage. There's like a
garbage.
Yeah.
It's like partly why I stopped playing that game, because like after like the 5th day in the row, I'm like, why do I still even play this? I'm not even think I'm enjoying it at this point.
Like there's this part where they're gonna fight the Team Rocket team or whatever, and like this girl in a cart comes by and she's like, I'll offer you like a free summon since you're new customers, and they're like, oh, thank you so much. Like we don't know how the hell we're gonna beat like the 5-star character that they summoned, and so they pull like on her cart to summon, and they just get like some piece of shit 1 star. They're like, God damn it. Yeah. And so they get like destroyed. It's hilarious.
So
it's just
not
really
childish.
funny.
Are you promising me it's not
It's
childish?
really not. The jokes are like more adult, especially the girl who is probably going to get the most attention, just like character design wise. Her name is Choco, and she's just kind of a little spacey. They're all like 14 years old, by the way. But like, yeah, she's spacey, but she just is constantly commenting like meta commentary on how dumb everything they're doing is in a way that works because it is really dumb and it's very aware of how dumb it is. Also, Kat may like the character named Gajaru, who is basically a male character. He's like a teenage boy who is basically wearing a sweater with no back to it, which is very famous.
What is that called?
No back and no sleeves.
That has a
yeah,
name.
no sleeves.
That has, isn't it like the boyfriend killer or something sweater?
The name for it is the Virgin Killing Sweater,
the Virgin
or whatever.
Killer
Yes.
Sweater. Yes. Oh my God. I need to watch this then. Okay.
I think you guys might enjoy it. I don't know if we'll cover it, but it is a hilarious little thing.
So, Kat, are you saying guys with like really nice muscular backs are like the thing?
Oh yeah. Like
I know a lot of girls are into
Okay,
backs.
the best attribute on any guy is their butt, right? If they have a nice butt, that's really nice. It's also nice if they have a nice back, and if they have like nice throat cleavage. Like if it's nice to look at their throat, that's nice. I like that.
I learned so much today.
I love it. All right, the last one we have on Wednesdays is Juushinki Pandora, but this was like basically impossible to watch.
It was.
Yeah, it's not airing anywhere, and like no one gave a shit to like really fan sub it either. And it's like, wow, that's surprising because this is like from the creator of Macross.
You know you have a shitty show if like fan sub groups won't even fan sub it. Like it must be bad, right? Like that's the only way they wouldn't fan sub it.
Yeah, seriously.
Which is disappointing.
So I don't know what to
even
think
know
about that.
The guy from Macross made this. I just knew like, well, it's a sci-fi anime. I want to watch it.
Right. Yeah. Oh well. All right, so I think we're going to stop here because that's a good stopping point for like the first half of the ridiculous amount of anime that are out this season. And And so thank you for listening. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube to get updates on new podcasts or videos. You can also follow us on Twitter at Nerdom and Other, where I basically just tweet out anytime a video goes up and not much else. So don't worry about your Twitter getting flooded. It's just like when the episodes come out. And anything like super exciting. But yeah. Anyway, that is it. We will see you.
Don't you worry. We will be back with all the rest of this bullshit later this week.
Yes,
later,
we will.
Guys.
See you later.
Yes, see ya. Bye.